Guys, tonight we're doing something a little different, a bit paradoxical, you might say. You usually come here to drift off to tales of ancient empires, forgotten cities, or perhaps the gentle hum of a historical artifact being meticulously restored. But tonight, we're venturing into military history. Yes, you heard that right. Military history for sleep. Now don't worry, there won't be any sudden trumpet fanfares or the jarring clash of swords. We're going to explore a unique corner of the martial world where the loudest sound you'll hear is probably the rustle of a rather fabulous uniform, or perhaps the distant, peaceful clink of a halberd being rested against a wall. It's a history so devoid of actual conflict, you probably won't survive the sheer lack of adrenaline. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And as always, let me know in the comments where you're listening from, and what time it is for you right now. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Imagine, if you will, the typical sounds of war history. You might picture the thunder of cavalry, the sharp crack of musketry, the guttural shouts of commanders, or the frantic pounding of boots across a muddy field. Your mind conjures images of smoke, steel, and the chaotic ballet of conflict. But tonight, we're not engaging with that history. We're peeling back the layers of time to uncover a military story that defies expectation, a narrative so profoundly tranquil that it almost feels like a trick of the light, or perhaps a particularly comforting dream. We're diving into the world of the Vatican Swiss Guard, a military unit whose very existence is a testament to the idea that strength can be found not in aggression, but in an unwavering, quiet presence. You see, for millennia, ever since leaders first gathered power and needed protection, specialized guard units have existed, their primary role being the defense of their sovereign rather than offensive warfare. From the personal retinues of pharaohs to the imperial guards of ancient Rome, the concept of a dedicated, elite force for protection is a mainstream historical fact, often overlooked in favor of more dramatic battlefield narratives. But the Swiss Guard takes this concept to an almost absurdly peaceful extreme. This is a history where the whispers of duty replace the clamor of battle, where the gentle creak of a polished boot on marble is the most dramatic sound you'll encounter, inviting a peaceful descent into sleep rather than a jolt of adrenaline. Forget the booming cannons. Tonight, we're focusing on the riveting sound of highly polished boot leather on marble. Truly, the stuff of legends, if your legends involve very quiet people. As you settle deeper into your pillows, imagine the shift in perspective required to truly appreciate this unique military history. It's not about grand strategy or tactical maneuvers on a chessboard battlefield. Instead, it's about the subtle art of deterrence, the profound power of tradition, and the quiet dignity of unwavering commitment. Think of it as the ultimate ASMR experience in historical narration. The soft rustle of their iconic uniform, the almost imperceptible shift of weight as a guard stands sentinel, the distant, muffled chiming of a clock marking the passage of time within the Vatican walls. Every element of their daily existence, every precise movement, every moment of stillness, contributes to an atmosphere of profound, almost meditative serenity. This isn't just a story about soldiers, it's a narrative about guardians, about men who embody a peaceful paradox. They are warriors, yes, trained and capable, but their martial prowess is rarely, if ever, called upon in anger. Their strength lies not in their capacity for violence, but in their capacity for vigilance, for constancy, for an almost stoic calm that permeates their every action. It's the antithesis of the typical war story, a quiet rebellion against the very notion that military history must be loud, bloody, or even particularly exciting. If you were hoping for a dramatic chase scene, I'm afraid the most heart-pounding moment might be a particularly brisk march to the mess hall. Try to stay awake for that one. Consider the very idea of a relaxing history of war. It sounds like an oxymoron, doesn't it? Like jumbo shrimp or friendly fire. But the Swiss Guard makes it not just possible, but exquisitely so. Their narrative isn't built on explosions and heroism, but on the quiet, unchanging daily duties that have defined their corps for centuries. It's a history of routine, of precision, of an almost monastic dedication to a singular, protective purpose. You're not being asked to relive moments of terror or triumph, but to simply observe the steady, rhythmic pulse of a force that serves as a living, breathing symbol of peace and continuity. It might surprise you to learn that some historical palace guards, far from being solely focused on combat readiness, were also expected to be accomplished musicians or even entertainers, blurring the lines of military duty with the performative arts. Imagine a heavily armored guard, halberd in hand, then suddenly pulling out a lute for the evening court. While the Swiss Guard aren't known for their lute-playing skills, their ceremonial duties certainly carry a performative aspect, a quiet, almost theatrical display of unwavering presence. As you drift closer to sleep, let the gentle rhythm of their unchanging routine wash over you. Think of the quiet clinking of their keys as they lock up for the night, the soft sound of their breath as they stand at attention, the almost imperceptible shift of their weight from one foot to the other. This is a history that isn't about what they did in battle, but about what they prevented through their constant, serene watch. Their effectiveness is measured not in victories won, but in the incidents averted, the threats unrealized, the peace maintained. Historians still argue whether the primary deterrent of such highly visible, yet largely ceremonial, forces lies more in their symbolic power or their underlying, rarely tested, martial capability. But for our purposes tonight, the answer matters less than the profound sense of calm that their existence inspires. They are a vivid, colorful reminder that even in a world often defined by conflict, there are pockets of enduring peace, upheld by the quiet, steadfast dedication of those who stand guard. It's a paradox, yes, but one designed to soothe your mind and guide you gently into the quiet embrace of slumber. Section 2. As the soft, ethereal whispers of the Vatican begin their day, you might find yourself wondering, how did these vibrant, almost anachronistic figures, the Swiss Guard, come to stand so quietly at the gates of history? You see, their roots stretch back not merely decades, but centuries, woven into the very fabric of European power and devotion, long before the idea of a quiet, unchanging daily duty was even a twinkle in a pope's eye. Forget the modern notion of a job interview. Back then, it was more about reputation, a sturdy set of legs, and an unshakable resolve. No LinkedIn profiles for these guys, just a good word and a proven ability to well guard. To truly understand the ancient vows of protection that bind these men to the Pope, you must first cast your mind back to an era when Switzerland, a land of craggy mountains and fierce independence, had a rather unique export: its formidable soldiers. The Swiss mercenaries, you see, were the special forces of their day, highly sought after across Europe for their unparalleled discipline, their unwavering loyalty once an oath was sworn, and their sheer, unyielding bravery in battle. They weren't just fighting for coin, they were fighting for their honor, their canton's reputation, and sometimes, even for a bit of adventure before settling down to herd goats. Their reputation was so fearsome, in fact, that it was said a Swiss mercenary would rather die than break formation or abandon his post. Which, when you think about it, is a pretty good quality for someone guarding the most important person in your world. From the late 15th century onwards, various European monarchs and potentates, including the popes themselves, began to hire these legendary Swiss fighters. Imagine the early popes, sitting in their grand, drafty palaces, surrounded by political intrigue and shifting alliances, thinking, you know what we need? Some guys who really don't mess around. And so they looked north to the Alps. It wasn't about the chaos of the battlefield for them. It was about the peace of mind that came with having the best, most reliable muscle money could buy. This wasn't just a casual employment agreement. It was the slow, deliberate forging of a bond, built on trust and a shared understanding of duty. The official birth date of the Pontifical Swiss Guard, as we know them, is January 22nd, 1506. On that crisp winter day, a contingent of 150 Swiss mercenaries, led by Captain Caspar von Silenen, marched into Rome and received a special blessing from Pope Julius II. Now, Julius II was no shrinking violet. He was a warrior pope, a man of action who understood the value of a loyal, disciplined fighting force. He recognized in these Swiss soldiers a unique blend of martial prowess and a deep, uncomplicated faith, which made them the perfect fit for protecting the Vicar of Christ. This wasn't just about keeping the Pope safe from potential assassins. It was about projecting an image of strength, stability, and unwavering resolve in a turbulent world. It was less about preparing for a brawl and more about ensuring that the Pope's tea was always served on time, and without any unexpected, shall we say, additions. These initial vows of protection weren't just a handshake agreement. They were solemn oaths, often taken before God, to defend the Pope and the Holy See, even unto death. For a Swiss mercenary, a sworn oath was paramount, a sacred bond that transcended mere financial gain. They were signing up for a life of service, a commitment that was both spiritual and military. It was like agreeing to be the world's most exclusive, highly trained bouncer, but with a divine mandate and a much, much older dress code. The true crucible, the moment that forever cemented the Swiss Guard's legacy and transformed them from mere mercenaries into the iconic guardians we know today, occurred on May 6, 1527. This was the infamous sack of Rome. As the Holy Roman Emperor Charles V's mutinous, unpaid, and utterly ruthless troops stormed the Eternal City, plundering and laying waste to everything in their path, the Swiss Guard stood as the Pope's last line of defense. Pope Clement VII, finding himself trapped, was forced to flee along a secret fortified passage, the Passetto di Borgo, from the Vatican to the safety of Castel Sant'Angelo. During this harrowing escape, 147 of the 189 Swiss Guards sacrificed their lives, holding off the overwhelming forces of the Imperial Army at the Teutonic Cemetery, just beside St. Peter's Basilica. It was a desperate, bloody stand, a testament to their incredible loyalty. They fought to the last man, buying precious time for the Pope to escape. Imagine the scene, the clang of steel, the shouts of battle, and these few, brave men standing firm against a tide of chaos. Historians still debate the exact number of Swiss Guards who perished defending Pope Clement VII during the sack of Rome in 1527, with figures ranging from 147 to nearly 200, but the unwavering loyalty remains undisputed. This was not just a battle, it was an act of profound devotion, a literal fulfillment of their ancient vows to protect the Pope, come what may. It defined them, it branded them, it turned their mercenary past into a sacred duty. After the dust settled and Rome lay in ruins, the sacrifice of the Swiss Guard became a legend. From that day forward, their role shifted. They were no longer just hired swords, they were the Pope's personal, unyielding protectors, their loyalty forged in blood and fire. The few survivors, along with new recruits, continued their service, now imbued with a deeper sense of purpose. The battlefield chaos of their mercenary past was slowly, imperceptibly, replaced by a more focused, contained, and ultimately more symbolic role. They became the guardians of a spiritual realm, rather than just a physical one. Their mission evolved from fighting wars to preventing them, at least within the sacred walls they now stood watch over. This transition from an active combat force to a ceremonial guard with a deep-seated protective duty wasn't an overnight change, but a gradual, organic evolution. Their very existence became a living monument to their 1527 sacrifice, a constant reminder of their fidelity. They were still soldiers, yes, but their swords were now sheathed, their halberds resting, their presence a quiet deterrent rather than an invitation to conflict. They were the ultimate don't even think about it squad, their ancient vows humming quietly beneath their colorful uniforms. And so the foundation was laid for the quiet, unchanging daily duties you observe today, born from centuries-old oaths of protection, now far, far removed from the battlefield's chaos, and instead, deeply rooted in a serene, watchful vigil. Section 3. As you gently drift further into this quiet history, you'll find yourself drawn to the most striking, yet paradoxically serene, visual of the Swiss Guard, their uniform. Imagine, if you will, a splash of vibrant color in the quiet, ancient heart of the Vatican, a sartorial statement that defies the hushed reverence of its surroundings, yet perfectly embodies the steadfast, traditional presence of its wearers. You see them standing, still as statues, their broad shoulders draped in fabric that seems to hum with centuries of quiet duty. This isn't just clothing, it's a living, breathing anachronism, a historical tableau brought to life. You might wonder, looking at those bold stripes of yellow, red, and blue, if they're about to lead a parade or perhaps perform a particularly elaborate piece of Renaissance theater. But no, this is their everyday attire for public duty, a design so iconic, so immediately recognizable, that it has become synonymous with unwavering loyalty and an almost whimsical sense of timelessness. While your wardrobe changes with the seasons, perhaps even with the shifting winds of social media trends, theirs has been on permanent repeat for half a millennium. It's the ultimate capsule collection, if your capsule was designed in the 16th century and intended for guarding popes. Let's take a moment to truly see it, to feel the quiet symbolism woven into every stitch. The colors themselves are a silent story. That vibrant yellow, a color of sunshine and warmth, whispers of the divine light, of the Vatican's spiritual core. The deep, rich red speaks of sacrifice, of the blood shed by those who defended the papacy in times long past, and perhaps, more subtly, of the quiet dedication that still flows through the veins of these young men. And the serene blue? It's the color of the heavens, of fidelity and truth, wrapping them in a cloak of unwavering allegiance. These aren't just arbitrary hues, they are the historic colors of the Medici family, specifically Pope Julius II, who founded the Guard in 1506. A mainstream historical fact, indeed, that these vibrant stripes are a direct nod to the very patron who brought them into being, a quiet, enduring tribute in fabric. The design itself is a masterpiece of Renaissance military fashion, a flamboyant yet functional style known as puff and slash. You can almost feel the voluminous pleats of the breeches, designed to offer freedom of movement while creating an impressive silhouette. The doublet, snug at the waist and flaring out, gives them a broad-shouldered, protective appearance. It's a look that says, I am here to stand firm, and also, I could probably win a costume contest from the 1500s. You might imagine the sheer effort involved in maintaining those perfectly crisp pleats. One can only assume there's a secret, highly advanced Vatican ironing board involved, possibly powered by ancient papal blessings, because getting those stripes to lie just right looks like a full-time job in itself. Now about the designer. The age-old whisper that follows this uniform like a shadow. For centuries, popular lore has attributed its design to none other than Michelangelo Buonarroti himself, the titan of the Renaissance, the painter of the Sistine Chapel, the sculptor of David. The idea is wonderfully romantic, isn't it? That such a genius would turn his hand from marble and fresco to military tailoring. You can almost picture him, chisel set aside, sketching designs for breeches and doublets. And while it's a beautiful thought and certainly adds to the mystique, historians still argue whether the legendary artist Michelangelo truly had a hand in the uniform's initial design, or if it simply evolved from typical Renaissance military attire, perhaps influenced by the broader artistic sensibilities of the era. The truth, as is often the case with history, is probably a bit more prosaic, but the enduring myth only adds to the uniform's quiet charm. It's a testament to its artistic impact that it's even considered worthy of such a lofty attribution. As you continue to observe, notice the smaller details that complete this striking ensemble. The crisp white ruff around their necks, a starched halo of formality, speaks of a bygone era, adding a touch of quiet elegance to their imposing presence. Then there's the headwear. For daily duties, you'll often see them in a simple black beret, practical and understated, allowing their faces to remain open and approachable. But for ceremonial occasions, that's when the morion helmet comes out. This iconic metal helmet, with its distinctive comb-like crest and often adorned with a vibrant plume, is a true work of art. You can almost feel the cool, smooth metal, heavy and substantial, a tangible link to the past. And here's a quirky tidbit for you. The color of the plume on that morion helmet isn't just for show. It subtly denotes rank. You'll see the commander with a brilliant red plume, the vice commander with a pristine white, the sergeant major with a dignified purple, and the ordinary halberdiers wearing a solemn black. It's a quiet visual shorthand, a silent hierarchy displayed for all to see, adding another layer of quiet symbolism to their already elaborate attire. Imagine the precise care taken to ensure each plume is perfectly set, a small, yet significant, detail in their daily preparation. Below the ruff, you might catch a glimpse of the gorget, a small, crescent-shaped piece of metal worn around the neck. Originally, this was a vital piece of armor, protecting the throat from a sword slash. Today, it's purely ornamental, a polished, quiet echo of its martial past, a nod to the dangers the Guard once faced, now serving as a symbol of their protective heritage rather than an actual shield. And then there are the white gloves, always pristine, always immaculate. They speak of cleanliness, of precision, of a separation from the mundane, emphasizing the sacredness of their duty. Each element, no matter how small, contributes to the overall impression of a steadfast, traditional presence. The uniform isn't just worn, it's inhabited. Think of the quiet ritual of putting it on each morning. The rustle of the heavy fabric, the soft click of buttons, the gentle tightening of straps. It's a transformation, a shedding of civilian identity, and an embracing of centuries of tradition. You can almost hear the soft scuff of their sturdy, practical shoes as they move from their barracks to their posts, the only sound the quiet rhythm of their steps. There's no clanking of heavy armor, no jingle of chains, just the subtle swish of fabric, a testament to their quiet, unobtrusive vigilance. Despite its vibrant appearance, the uniform, surprisingly, contributes to the overall sense of calm. Its very unchanging nature speaks of stability, of continuity. In a world of constant flux, where even the most fundamental institutions adapt and evolve rapidly, the Swiss Guard's attire stands as a quiet anchor, a visual promise that some things remain steadfast. It's a gentle reassurance to pilgrims and visitors alike, a visually stunning yet deeply peaceful symbol of tradition enduring. You might even find yourself feeling a peculiar sense of comfort looking at it, as if the very stability of the Vatican is embodied in those perfectly arranged yellow, red, and blue stripes. It's the ultimate don't fix what isn't broken approach to fashion, and frankly, it works. Section 4. Now, as your eyelids grow heavier, let's turn our attention to the precise, almost meditative journey these young men embark upon, a path that transforms them from ordinary Swiss citizens into the tranquil sentinels of the Vatican. It's a process of becoming, a quiet forging of character that happens long before you ever see them standing guard, resplendent in their stripes. You might imagine a bustling military academy, full of shouting sergeants and obstacle courses, but the reality is far more nuanced, a methodical sifting for a very particular kind of quiet strength. First, you must understand the bedrock requirements, the quiet gatekeepers that filter who even gets to apply. You can't just waltz in off the street, halberd in hand, declaring your eternal loyalty. Oh no, it's far more Swiss than that, meticulously organized, with a distinct set of boxes to tick. You must be a male citizen of Switzerland, of course, that's non-negotiable, a point of national pride and historical continuity. Then, you must be a devout Catholic, because your service isn't just to a temporal state, but to the spiritual head of your faith. This isn't a mere job, it's a vocation, a calling that intertwines deeply with your personal beliefs. You're also expected to be unmarried when you first join, though permission to marry can be granted after a few years of service, usually after you've proven your dedication and settled into the unique rhythm of Vatican life. It's a bit like joining an exclusive club where the initial membership drive frowns upon distractions, ensuring your full, undivided attention is on the new role. There are physical prerequisites too, of course, though not for brute strength, as much as for presence and endurance. You need to be of a certain height, typically around 174 centimeters, or about 5 feet 8.5 inches. It's not about being a towering giant, but rather ensuring a consistent, dignified line when they stand together, a visual uniformity that contributes to their iconic calm. And perhaps most uniquely, you must have already completed your basic military training in the Swiss Army. This isn't because you'll be fighting battles, far from it, but because it instills a foundational discipline, a familiarity with military protocol, and a robust physical condition that is essential for long hours of standing perfectly still, like a human statue of duty. It's a quiet testament to their national identity, a blend of civilian life and military preparedness that is quintessentially Swiss. You also need to be within a specific age range, usually between 19 and 30, ensuring a youthful vigor combined with enough maturity to understand the profound responsibility you're undertaking. And naturally, a clean record is paramount. Any hint of past indiscretion, and your application quietly disappears into the historical archives, never to see the light of day. Once you meet these initial criteria, the journey truly begins. You submit your application, a formal document that is scrutinized with the precision of a Swiss watchmaker examining a tiny cog. There are background checks, interviews, and a deep dive into your character and motivations. They want to know why you want this life, this unique blend of quiet vigilance and ancient tradition. Is it for the adventure? The faith? The unique experience of living within the smallest sovereign state in the world? Or perhaps, as many suggest, it's simply the allure of that striking uniform, which, let's be honest, looks rather fetching on a postcard. Regardless of your personal reasons, they are looking for a deep-seated commitment, a quiet resolve that suggests you won't buckle under the serene pressure of the role. If you pass this meticulous screening, you receive the quiet invitation to join. You pack your bags, leaving behind the familiar landscapes of Switzerland for the ancient cobblestones of Rome. It's a transition that many describe as both exciting and profoundly humbling. You arrive, not with a fanfare, but with a quiet sense of purpose, ready to step into a history that stretches back over 5 centuries. The true initiation, the moment you officially become a quiet guardian, occurs during the swearing-in ceremony on May 6th each year. This date is not arbitrary. It commemorates the sack of Rome in 1527, a brutal event where 147 Swiss guards bravely sacrificed their lives defending Pope Clement VII. It's a mainstream historical fact that underscores the very real, often bloody origins of their protective vow, even as their modern duties are far more peaceful. You stand before the Pope, your left hand raised, fingers extended as if in a silent prayer, while your right hand grips the halberd, its polished steel reflecting the sunlight. You recite the solemn oath in your native Swiss German, pledging to faithfully, loyally and honorably serve the Supreme Pontiff and his legitimate successors, and to dedicate myself to them with all my strength, sacrificing, if necessary, my life for them. It's a profound moment, witnessed by your family, who have traveled to share in this unique passage. The air is thick with tradition, the echoes of centuries of similar vows reverberating around you, a quiet symphony of commitment. Then, the training truly begins, though it's not the kind of training you might associate with modern militaries. There are no grueling marches through mud, no simulated combat scenarios with pyrotechnics. Instead, it's a methodical, almost gentle immersion into the world of quiet vigilance. You learn the intricate protocols of the Vatican, an education in silent etiquette. You learn who is who in the vast hierarchy, when to salute, when to stand at ease, when to be respectfully invisible. It's a dance of subtle movements and knowing glances, a ballet of discretion. You are taught how to stand perfectly still for hours on end, a skill that sounds simple but requires immense physical and mental discipline. Imagine holding a pose, muscles unmoving, mind alert but calm, as thousands of pilgrims stream past you, their cameras flashing like tiny, harmless lightning bugs. This isn't about physical aggression, it's about projecting an aura of unwavering, tranquil presence. You also undergo security training, of course, though it's tailored to the unique environment of the Vatican. It's less about engaging in high-speed pursuits and more about observation, threat assessment in a low-threat environment, and close protection of individuals. You learn how to identify anything that seems out of place, a quiet anomaly in the serene flow of daily life. This involves discreet self-defense techniques and the handling of modern firearms, which are kept out of public view, but are a necessary component of contemporary security. It's a quiet acknowledgement that even in a place of peace, vigilance must remain. The halberd, your iconic companion, is primarily ceremonial now, a symbol of their ancient protective heritage, its purpose shifted from conflict to ceremonial reverence. You learn its proper handling, the precise way to hold it, to present it, to lean it against the wall when off duty. It's less a weapon and more a beautifully crafted piece of history, a silent testament to the past. A quirky tidbit about their training involves the uniform itself. You learn not just to wear it, but to maintain it with meticulous care. You're taught how to iron the intricate pleats of the trousers, how to polish the metal of your breastplate until it gleams like a mirror, and how to ensure every buckle and strap is in its precise place. It's a hands-on lesson in self-sufficiency and attention to detail, a quiet ritual that reinforces the discipline of the corps. You might even find yourself silently cursing a stubborn wrinkle as you perfect your attire, a tiny, relatable frustration in an otherwise unique existence. Language acquisition is another crucial part of your training. While Swiss German is your mother tongue and the official language of the Guard, you quickly immerse yourself in Italian, the working language of the Vatican. You learn the polite phrases, the common greetings, the specific terminology used within the Holy See. This fosters a quiet, integrated community, allowing you to seamlessly interact with other Vatican staff, pilgrims, and the Pope himself. You might even pick up a few playful Italian idioms, adding a subtle charm to your quiet demeanor. Perhaps the most profound aspect of your training, and one that deeply intertwines with your later duties, is the spiritual formation. Daily Mass, regular opportunities for confession, and theological instruction are all part of the curriculum. This isn't just about adhering to doctrine, it's about cultivating an inner calm, a tranquil bedrock for your service. Your faith isn't just a personal belief, it becomes an integral part of your professional identity, providing a quiet strength that underpins your unwavering dedication. You are taught that your service is a continuation of a spiritual mission, a quiet act of devotion. Historians still debate the precise moment when the Swiss Guard's primary function shifted definitively from battlefield prowess to ceremonial and close protection, though the sack of Rome certainly marked a turning point. But what is clear is that their training has always adapted, quietly evolving to meet the changing needs of the papacy. From learning to wield a sword to mastering modern communication devices, the emphasis has always been on silent effectiveness. You are transformed, not into a loud, boisterous soldier, but into a disciplined, tranquil sentinel, ready to provide an unseen shield of quiet success. You learn to be present without being intrusive, protective without being aggressive, a silent guardian in a world of whispers and ancient stones. Section 5. You know that feeling, don't you? That soft, almost imperceptible shift from the deep embrace of sleep to the first tendrils of consciousness. For most of us, it's the jarring digital shriek of an alarm clock, or perhaps the gentle nudge of a partner, perhaps even the insistent meow of a truly entitled feline. But for you, a Swiss Guard, deep within the quiet, ancient walls of the Vatican, dawn's gentle vigil begins not with a clamor, but with an internal hum, a silent, disciplined awakening that predates even the invention of the alarm clock. Your biological clock, finely tuned by months, if not years, of unwavering routine, nudges you awake long before the first hint of gray light bleeds through the high, narrow windows of the barracks. The air in the sleeping quarters is cool, still holding the crispness of the pre-dawn hours. You might hear the soft rustle of a mattress from a bunk nearby, the almost inaudible sigh of a comrade stretching. There's no hurried scramble, no frantic search for misplaced socks. Instead, a methodical stillness pervades the room. You swing your legs out of bed, your bare feet meeting the cool, smooth stone floor, a sensation that instantly grounds you, pulling you fully into the present moment. This isn't just waking up, it's a quiet re-entry into a sacred rhythm. You move with an almost preternatural quietness, a skill honed by necessity. The shared bathrooms are still dim, the water from the tap running with a soft, steady murmur. The simple act of washing your face becomes a meditative ritual, the cool water a gentle shock that clears the last vestiges of sleep from your mind. You shave with precision, your reflection in the mirror showing a young face, perhaps a touch of fatigue around the eyes, but resolute. There's a quiet pride in the simple act of preparing yourself, knowing that soon you will embody centuries of tradition. You pull on your standard issue work uniform, a practical, understated ensemble that contrasts sharply with the vibrant spectacle of your ceremonial attire. This is the uniform for the unseen work, the behind-the-scenes diligence that ensures the Vatican's smooth operation. Breakfast, when it comes, is a communal affair, yet still remarkably subdued. The clink of cutlery against ceramic plates is muted, conversations are hushed, often in a mix of Swiss German and Italian, a quiet symphony of greetings and practical exchanges. It's a simple, nourishing meal, perhaps some bread, cheese, a bit of fruit, and a steaming cup of coffee that warms you from the inside out. There are no boisterous jokes, no loud pronouncements of the day's plans. Instead, there's a shared understanding, a quiet solidarity among men who are about to embark on another day of unwavering vigilance. You might even catch a glimpse of the Vatican's resident cat, a truly ancient and cynical creature, padding silently through the mess hall, perhaps hoping for a dropped crumb. It's a reminder that even the most sacred of places has its mundane, adorable moments. With breakfast concluded, the true transformation begins. You make your way to the changing rooms, the air now thick with the scent of polished leather and starched fabric. This is where the iconic uniform, the one that makes tourists gasp and art historians nod sagely, comes into play. It's not just a costume, it's a meticulously crafted piece of history, a living testament to a promise made long ago. You begin with the undergarments, layers designed for comfort and practicality, surprising perhaps for an outfit that looks so ornate. Then come the breeches, the billowing sleeves, the meticulously pleated ruff, each piece handled with care, almost reverence. It takes a certain knack, a practiced hand, to get the pleats just right, to ensure the ruff sits perfectly without choking you. Some new recruits find it a bit like wrestling an octopus in a dryer, but you've mastered the quiet art of uniform assembly. The boots are next, tall and sturdy, polished to a mirror shine. You lace them up, feeling the reassuring weight of the leather. And then the colors. The vibrant stripes of yellow, red, and blue, the Medici colors, unfold around you as you don the tunic. It's a striking visual, a silent declaration of identity and purpose. You adjust the heavy black beret, or perhaps the more formal Morian helmet, depending on your assigned post. The helmet, with its plumes, feels surprisingly light, but it carries the weight of centuries. Historians still argue whether the exact design and color scheme of the current uniform, often attributed to Michelangelo, was indeed his direct creation or a later evolution inspired by Renaissance military attire. What is clear, however, is that this uniform, which has remained largely unchanged since the 16th century, is not merely decorative. It is a functional piece of military heritage, designed to be both protective and intimidating in its original context, now a symbol of unwavering peace. As you finish dressing, you retrieve your halberd. This isn't a weapon of aggression anymore, but a symbol, a testament to a bygone era when the Swiss Guard truly were a fighting force, renowned for their ferocity and loyalty. You run your gloved hand along the smooth, cool shaft of the wooden pole, feeling the heft of the blade at its tip. It's perfectly balanced, a silent partner in your vigil. The act of picking it up, of holding it, connects you instantly to the generations of guardsmen who have stood before you, holding the very same promise. The barracks begin to stir more actively now, though still with that characteristic quietude. Other guardsmen, similarly transformed, gather in small groups, their halberds gleaming softly in the dim light. There's a brief, almost imperceptible briefing, a quiet confirmation of posts, reminder of the day's specific protocols. No loud commands, no barked orders. Just concise, clear instructions delivered in low tones. This meticulous planning, though seemingly simple, is a mainstream historical fact of any effective security force. Clear communication and precise assignment of duties are paramount to maintaining order and protection, especially in a place as sensitive as the Vatican. Then, with a synchronicity born of countless repetitions, you begin your quiet march. The heavy, measured tread of your boots echoes softly on the stone floors as you move through the labyrinthine corridors of the Vatican, past ancient tapestries and hushed courtyards. The air is still cool, carrying the faint scent of old stone, and perhaps the distant aroma of baking bread from a nearby convent. The only sounds are the rhythmic swish of your uniform, the soft scrape of halberds against each other if you march too close, and the almost imperceptible hum of the Vatican itself beginning to awaken. This isn't a march to war, it's a march to watch, to safeguard. It's a silent, disciplined ballet of duty. Your destination might be one of the many gates, like the Arch of the Bells, where the first trickles of official visitors and Vatican staff will soon begin to arrive. Or perhaps it's a post deep within the Apostolic Palace, guarding a corridor that leads to the Pope's private apartments, a truly sacred space where your vigilance is a silent, constant presence. You approach your designated spot, your posture already shifting from the easy stride of walking to the rigid, unwavering stillness of a sentinel. At your post, you meet the guard you are relieving. There's no elaborate ceremony for this daily transfer of responsibility, no grand pronouncements. It's a quiet exchange, a nod, a brief, low-voiced update on anything noteworthy from the night shift. All quiet, no incidents, perhaps a note about a particular delivery expected. The outgoing guard, looking perhaps a little weary but still composed, offers a final, almost imperceptible nod, and then, with a quiet turn, walks away, leaving you to assume the mantle of vigilance. The silence that follows is profound, broken only by the distant cooing of doves or the occasional chime of a bell from one of Rome's myriad churches. You stand, halberd held precisely, your eyes scanning the quiet courtyard or corridor. The first rays of dawn begin to paint the ancient stones with soft hues of rose and gold. The shadows lengthen and recede with the rising sun, playing tricks on the eye, but your gaze remains steady, unwavering. You are not just a static figure. You are an active observer, your senses attuned to every subtle shift in the environment. You notice the first cleaner's cart trundling by, the quiet opening of a distant door, the gentle stirrings of life within the Vatican city-state. Your mind, though alert, also finds a quiet calm. You might reflect on the spiritual significance of your post, the profound responsibility of protecting the visible head of the Catholic Church. Or perhaps you simply focus on the rhythmic breathing, the feel of the cool morning air on your face, the steadfast weight of your halberd. It's a unique form of meditation, this standing guard. It demands a complete presence, yet allows for a deep inner peace. You become an extension of the ancient walls themselves, a living, breathing part of the Vatican's timeless defense. And as the first official vehicles begin to arrive, as the gates creak open and the Vatican slowly, gracefully, awakens to a new day, you remain a silent, colorful sentry. Your vigil has begun, a quiet testament to a history of peace, maintained by unwavering, methodical precision. It's a peculiar superpower, really, the ability to stand perfectly still, observing everything, and letting absolutely nothing disturb the serenity of this sacred space. Section 6. As the morning sun, which had dappled the ancient stones with a gentle, awakening light, now climbs higher, it begins to assert its full Roman authority. The air warms, carrying the faint, distant hum of the eternal city, a sound that, curiously, seems to dissipate the moment it brushes against the Vatican's thick, hallowed walls. You might imagine a bustling, frenetic shift change, a flurry of crisp commands and marching boots as the morning watch hands over to the midday vigil. But here, within these timeless confines, such notions are as foreign as a traffic jam in a medieval fresco. Instead, the transition to midday's steadfast presence unfolds with the unhurried grace of a slow-motion film. It's less a changing of the guard and more a gentle, almost imperceptible rotation, like the hands of a clock moving at geological speed. You'll see a new figure in the familiar, vibrant uniform glide into position, his predecessor melting away with a quiet nod, a soft rustle of fabric, leaving behind only the subtle imprint of unwavering calm. It's so subtle, in fact, you might miss it entirely, convinced the same halberdier has simply been there since dawn, a living statue whose only movement is the slow, deliberate blink of an eye. If you were hoping for a dramatic, Hollywood-esque handover, complete with synchronized sword flourishes, you'd be sorely disappointed. This isn't a battle reenactment, it's just Tuesday. The midday sun now bathes the courtyards and the grand facades in a brilliant, almost blinding light, casting sharp, defined shadows. The air grows still and heavy, sometimes thick with the scent of cypress and the faint, sweet perfume of jasmine from unseen gardens. This is the hour when the Vatican truly settles into its rhythm, a deep, resonant hum of administrative quietude punctuated by the soft murmur of pilgrims and the occasional, almost apologetic, whir of a golf cart carrying a cardinal. Your gaze drifts to the iconic posts, St. Anne's Gate, the main public entrance, where the guard stands sentinel beside the imposing archway, the bronze doors, a gateway of immense historical and spiritual significance, leading directly into the Apostolic Palace, and various internal checkpoints within the palace complex itself, where access is granted only to the truly privileged. At each of these points, the Swiss Guard, resplendent in their yellow, blue, and red stripes, embodies an unhurried rhythm that seems to defy the very concept of time. Their presence is one of silent observation. This isn't a passive stare, it's an active, yet incredibly subtle scan. Their eyes, though seemingly fixed on some distant point, are constantly, almost imperceptibly, taking in every detail. You might catch a slight shift of their gaze, following a tourist who lingers a moment too long, or a sudden, almost imperceptible narrowing of their eyes as a delivery van approaches. They are masters of the peripheral, absorbing the ebb and flow of visitors, the subtle cues of behavior, the unspoken narratives of those who pass before them. It's like watching a human security camera, except this one has a soul and, presumably, a very patient bladder. This unwavering, calm attention is not merely a job requirement, it's a cultivated state of being. Imagine standing for hours, perfectly still, under the relentless Roman sun, perhaps with the occasional gentle breeze offering little respite. Your mind must be a fortress of focus, impervious to the incessant chatter of tourist groups, the click of cameras, or the stray pigeon that decides your highly polished boots are an excellent landing strip. Their internal discipline is profound, a quiet cultivation of inner peace that underpins their unwavering dedication. They don't fidget, they don't slouch, they don't check their watches with an exaggerated sigh. They simply are. It's during these midday shifts that the weight of centuries feels most palpable. The very stones beneath their feet have witnessed countless popes, emperors, and pilgrims. The history they embody is not just in their uniform, but in their very posture. A mainstream historical fact that underscores this deep connection is the legendary steadfastness of the Swiss Guard during the sack of Rome in 1527. While today's duties are far removed from the desperate, bloody defense of Clement VII, the legacy of that ultimate act of protection, where 147 guardsmen perished defending the Pope, allowing him to escape along the Passetto di Borgo to Castel Sant'Angelo, is woven into the very fabric of their quiet vigilance. Their current calm attention is a direct descendant of that historical resolve, a living testament to an oath kept, come what may. And speaking of their uniform, here's a quirky tidbit that often sparks quiet amusement. Despite its iconic status and the popular attribution to Michelangelo, historians still argue whether the uniform's design is truly the work of the Renaissance master. Some scholarly debates lean towards a later design, possibly by Commander Jules Ripond in the early 20th century, drawing inspiration from Raphael's frescoes. Regardless, its vibrant colors and distinctive ruffled collar remain a powerful symbol, a visual anchor in a world of fleeting trends. It's a uniform that whispers, "We've been here for ages, and we're not going anywhere." It's certainly more comfortable than a medieval suit of armor, though I imagine those ruffles can get a bit itchy in the summer heat. Their quietude is an integral part of their effectiveness. You won't hear the clatter of a modern tactical vest or the telltale crinkle of a radio earpiece. Their communication is often subtle, a glance, a slight shift in posture, a barely perceptible nod. This is part of their unseen shield, the idea that their very presence, their unwavering calm, deters potential threats. Historians still argue whether the Swiss Guard's primary role has truly shifted from active defense to more of a symbolic deterrence, with the Vatican Gendarmerie Corps handling the more overt security measures. But watching a Swiss Guard at his midday post, you sense that the symbolism is the deterrence. Their very existence, their quiet dignity, speaks volumes, a silent declaration of inviolability. The midday light filters through the ancient windows, creating patterns of light and shadow on the polished marble floors. The air inside the apostolic palace is cooler, hushed, the silence broken only by the distant echo of footsteps or the soft rustle of a priest's cassock. Here, the guardsmen blend into the architectural grandeur, becoming almost part of the building itself, their colorful uniforms a vibrant counterpoint to the muted tones of stone and fresco. They are the human equivalent of a low-humming, highly efficient air conditioner, maintaining a steady, regulated environment of security. Their halberds, those formidable-looking polearms, rest quietly beside them, gleaming softly in the light. These aren't weapons of active engagement in the modern sense. You won't see them brandishing them in a sudden burst of defensive fury. They are symbols, yes, but also a constant reminder of the Guard's historical purpose, a physical link to a past where such implements were very much for conflict. Today, however, their purpose has shifted from battlefield utility to ceremonial reverence, a quiet testament to a protective heritage. It's like having a really fancy, very sharp, very old letter opener by your desk. Impressive, but you're probably not going to use it to open your Amazon packages. As the sun begins its slow descent towards the afternoon, the rhythm remains unhurried. The midday shifts are long, demanding not physical exertion in the traditional military sense, but an extraordinary mental fortitude. It's a test of patience, focus, and an almost meditative state of awareness. You might notice the slight shift in the shadows, the subtle deepening of the blues and reds in their uniform as the light changes. They are part of the Vatican's breathing, its steady pulse. Their unwavering attention is a silent promise, a continuous vigil that allows the heart of the Catholic Church to beat on, undisturbed, under their watchful, calm gaze. Word count, 1395. Awaiting continue, ### section 6. As the morning sun, which had dappled the ancient stones with a gentle, awakening light, now climbs higher, it begins to assert its full Roman authority. The air warms, carrying the faint, distant hum of the eternal city, a sound that, curiously, seems to dissipate the moment it brushes against the Vatican's thick, hallowed walls. You might imagine a bustling, frenetic shift change, a flurry of crisp commands and marching boots as the morning watch hands over to the midday vigil. But here, within these timeless confines, such notions are as foreign as a traffic jam in a medieval fresco. Instead, the transition to midday's steadfast presence unfolds with the unhurried grace of a slow-motion film. It's less a changing of the guard and more a gentle, almost imperceptible rotation, like the hands of a clock moving at geological speed. You'll see a new figure in the familiar, vibrant uniform glide into position, his predecessor melting away with a quiet nod, a soft rustle of fabric, leaving behind only the subtle imprint of unwavering calm. It's so subtle, in fact, you might miss it entirely, convinced the same halberdier has simply been there since dawn, a living statue whose only movement is the slow, deliberate blink of an eye. If you were hoping for a dramatic, Hollywood-esque handover, complete with synchronized sword flourishes, you'd be sorely disappointed. This isn't a battle reenactment, it's just Tuesday. The midday sun now bathes the courtyards and the grand facades in a brilliant, almost blinding light, casting sharp, defined shadows. The air grows still and heavy, sometimes thick with the scent of cypress and the faint, sweet perfume of jasmine from unseen gardens. This is the hour when the Vatican truly settles into its rhythm, a deep, resonant hum of administrative quietude punctuated by the soft murmur of pilgrims and the occasional, almost apologetic, whir of a golf cart carrying a cardinal. Your gaze drifts to the iconic posts, St. Anne's Gate, the main public entrance, where the guard stands sentinel beside the imposing archway. The bronze doors, a gateway of immense historical and spiritual significance, leading directly into the apostolic palace, and various internal checkpoints within the palace complex itself, where access is granted only to the truly privileged. At each of these points, the Swiss Guard, resplendent in their yellow, blue, and red stripes, embodies an unhurried rhythm that seems to defy the very concept of time. Their presence is one of silent observation. This isn't a passive stare, it's an active, yet incredibly subtle scan. Their eyes, though seemingly fixed on some distant point, are constantly, almost imperceptibly, taking in every detail. You might catch a slight shift of their gaze, following a tourist who lingers a moment too long, or a sudden, almost imperceptible narrowing of their eyes as a delivery van approaches. They are masters of the peripheral, absorbing the ebb and flow of visitors, the subtle cues of behavior, the unspoken narratives of those who pass before them. It's like watching a human security camera, except this one has a soul and, presumably, a very patient bladder. This unwavering, calm attention is not merely a job requirement, it's a cultivated state of being. Imagine standing for hours, perfectly still, under the relentless Roman sun, perhaps with the occasional gentle breeze offering little respite. Your mind must be a fortress of focus, impervious to the incessant chatter of tourist groups, the click of cameras, or the stray pigeon that decides your highly polished boots are an excellent landing strip. Their internal discipline is profound, a quiet cultivation of inner peace that underpins their unwavering dedication. They don't fidget, they don't slouch, they don't check their watches with an exaggerated sigh. They simply are. It's during these midday shifts that the weight of centuries feels most palpable. The very stones beneath their feet have witnessed countless popes, emperors, and pilgrims. The history they embody is not just in their uniform, but in their very posture. A mainstream historical fact that underscores this deep connection is the legendary steadfastness of the Swiss Guard during the sack of Rome in 1527. While today's duties are far removed from the desperate, bloody defense of Clement VII, the legacy of that ultimate act of protection, where 147 guardsmen perished defending the Pope, allowing him to escape along the Passetto di Borgo to Castel Sant'Angelo, is woven into the very fabric of their quiet vigilance. Their current calm attention is a direct descendant of that historical resolve, a living testament to an oath kept, come what may. And speaking of their uniform, here's a quirky tidbit that often sparks quiet amusement. Despite its iconic status and the popular attribution to Michelangelo, historians still argue whether the uniform's design is truly the work of the Renaissance master. Some scholarly debates lean towards a later design, possibly by Commander Jules Ripond in the early 20th century, drawing inspiration from Raphael's frescoes. Regardless, its vibrant colors and distinctive ruffled collar remain a powerful symbol, a visual anchor in a world of fleeting trends. It's a uniform that whispers, "We've been here for ages, and we're not going anywhere." It's certainly more comfortable than a medieval suit of armor, though I imagine those ruffles can get a bit itchy in the summer heat. Their quietude is an integral part of their effectiveness. You won't hear the clatter of a modern tactical vest or the telltale crinkle of a radio earpiece. Their communication is often subtle, a glance, a slight shift in posture, a barely perceptible nod. This is part of their unseen shield, the idea that their very presence, their unwavering calm, deters potential threats. Historians still argue whether the Swiss Guard's primary role has truly shifted from active defense to more of a symbolic deterrence, with the Vatican Gendarmerie Corps handling the more overt security measures. But watching a Swiss Guard at his midday post, you sense that the symbolism is the deterrence. Their very existence, their quiet dignity, speaks volumes, a silent declaration of inviolability. The midday light filters through the ancient windows, creating patterns of light and shadow on the polished marble floors. The air inside the apostolic palace is cooler, hushed, the silence broken only by the distant echo of footsteps or the soft rustle of a priest's cassock. Here, the guardsmen blend into the architectural grandeur, becoming almost part of the building itself, their colorful uniforms a vibrant counterpoint to the muted tones of stone and fresco. They are the human equivalent of a low-humming, highly efficient air conditioner, maintaining a steady, regulated environment of security. Their halberds, those formidable-looking polearms, rest quietly beside them, gleaming softly in the light. These aren't weapons of active engagement in the modern sense. You won't see them brandishing them in a sudden burst of defensive fury. They are symbols, yes, but also a constant reminder of the Guard's historical purpose, a physical link to a past where such implements were very much for conflict. Today, however, their purpose has shifted from battlefield utility to ceremonial reverence, a quiet testament to a protective heritage. It's like having a really fancy, very sharp, very old letter opener by your desk. Impressive, but you're probably not going to use it to open your Amazon packages. As the sun begins its slow descent towards the afternoon, the rhythm remains unhurried. The midday shifts are long, demanding not physical exertion in the traditional military sense, but an extraordinary mental fortitude. It's a test of patience, focus, and an almost meditative state of awareness. You might notice the slight shift in the shadows, the subtle deepening of the blues and reds in their uniform as the light changes. They are part of the Vatican's breathing, its steady pulse. Their unwavering attention is a silent promise, a continuous vigil that allows the heart of the Catholic Church to beat on, undisturbed, under their watchful, calm gaze. Section 7. As the sun begins its slow, deliberate descent, casting long, peaceful shadows across the ancient stones of the Vatican, you feel a subtle shift in the rhythm of the day. The bustling crowds that punctuated the midday hours, with their excited chatter and camera clicks, have begun to thin, retreating from the square like a gentle tide. A quietude settles over the apostolic palace, a pervasive hush that seems to seep into the very fabric of the old city. This is when the Swiss Guard's duties transition, moving from the more visible, ceremonial posts to the intricate, often unseen, tapestry of afternoon vigilance. You might imagine a dramatic changing of the guard, a grand display, but no, this shift is often as subtle as the deepening hues of the sky itself, a quiet recalibration of focus. You find yourself no longer observing the steady, almost statuesque figures at the bronze gates or the main entrances, but rather envisioning the quiet patrols that now begin to trace paths through the less frequented corridors, the administrative wings, and the serene, manicured gardens. These are the arteries and veins of the Vatican city-state, where the daily work of the Holy See continues, and where a discreet, unwavering presence is paramount. It's a bit like the security team at a very exclusive, ancient library after closing hours. No one is making noise, but every nook and cranny is still being quietly observed. You might think, well, surely the Pope is just having a nice afternoon tea now. What could possibly happen? And that, my friend, is precisely the point. The absence of incident is the most profound testament to their continuous, silent vigil. The afternoon brings with it not just a change in patrol routes, but often a shift towards more specialized, behind-the-scenes training sessions. While the morning might involve drills on ceremonial precision, the afternoon could see guardsmen honing their close protection techniques, practicing discreet escort procedures within the labyrinthine passages of the Apostolic Palace, or refreshing their first aid skills. Imagine a small group, perhaps in a quiet, unassuming room within their barracks, meticulously reviewing floor plans, identifying emergency exits, or rehearsing responses to hypothetical, low-level security scenarios. There are no flashing lights, no dramatic sirens, just the quiet, methodical repetition of movements, the soft murmur of instructions, and the focused concentration of young men internalizing procedures that they hope, with all their hearts, they will never have to employ in earnest. It's a bit like a highly trained silent ballet, where every step is rehearsed for a performance that, ideally, never takes place. Beyond the physical training, the afternoons are also dedicated to the meticulous care and maintenance of their equipment. You might picture a guardsman, not in his full dress uniform, but in a more practical work attire, carefully polishing the intricate, fluted shaft of his halberd, or ensuring the readiness of his sidearm, which, though rarely seen, is always at hand for those who require it. It's not the kind of glamorous work you see in action movies. There's no dramatic loading of ammunition or intense target practice. Instead, it's the quiet, repetitive motion of a cloth against metal, the soft click of a mechanism being checked, the almost meditative act of ensuring every piece of gear is in perfect working order. This attention to detail isn't just about functionality. It's about the deep respect for the tools of their ancient office, a connection to the long line of guardians who have held these same symbols of protection throughout centuries. And yes, polishing a several hundred-year-old halberd is probably less exciting than scrolling through your phone, but it certainly builds character and perhaps a very specific kind of arm strength. Then there are the administrative duties, the quiet, often overlooked, backbone of any efficient security operation. You might find a guardsman, perhaps one with a knack for organization, sitting at a desk, methodically compiling reports from the day's shifts, logging observations, or updating schedules. This isn't the thrilling espionage of a spy novel. It's the quiet diligence of ensuring that every detail, no matter how small, is recorded and communicated. It involves coordinating with other Vatican security entities like the Gendarmerie Corps, ensuring seamless communication and shared awareness of any security developments or upcoming events. Historians still argue whether the precise division of labor between the Swiss Guard and the gendarmerie has always been perfectly clear, or if it evolved more organically over centuries of shared vigilance. But in the afternoon, their cooperation is a quiet hum of efficiency. It's the kind of paperwork that makes you appreciate the dramatic flair of a medieval battle, because at least then you knew exactly what you were fighting. Here, you're fighting the good fight against misplaced keys and forgotten log entries. A quirky tidbit you might not expect. Sometimes, these quiet afternoon duties can involve the rather specific task of checking the less traveled, almost secret, passages and internal staircases that weave through the apostolic palace. These aren't grand, publicly accessible routes, but rather the hidden arteries designed for discreet movement, dating back centuries. Imagine feeling the cool, ancient stone under your hand as you navigate a dimly lit, narrow staircase, ensuring that every latch, every door, every forgotten corner is secure. It's a reminder that the Vatican isn't just a collection of grand halls, but a living, breathing historical complex, full of nooks and crannies that require constant, quiet scrutiny. It's a bit like being a very well-dressed, very serious ghost hunter, but instead of looking for spirits, you're just making sure no one else is. Mainstream historical fact time. The very architecture of the Apostolic Palace, which has evolved over many centuries with countless additions and modifications, presents a unique security challenge. Unlike a purpose-built modern facility, the palace grew organically, incorporating existing structures and adapting to changing needs. This created a complex, almost labyrinthine layout, with multiple access points, internal courtyards, and interconnected buildings. The Swiss Guard's detailed knowledge of this intricate environment, honed through countless afternoon patrols, is a crucial part of their protective duties. They don't just guard points, they understand the flow, the hidden pathways, the historical vulnerabilities that have been mitigated over time. This deep familiarity allows for a truly discreet, yet utterly comprehensive protective presence. It's less about brute force and more about an intimate understanding of the space itself, almost as if the walls whisper their secrets to the guards. As the afternoon wears on, and the light outside softens to a golden glow, the focus remains on quiet preparedness. Briefings might be held, discussing the Pope's schedule for the evening or the following day, reviewing visitor lists, or noting any subtle changes in the rhythm of the Vatican. This isn't about anticipating grand threats, but rather about managing the constant, low-level hum of potential issues. A misplaced pass, an unexpected visitor, a minor logistical hiccup. It's the quiet work of foresight, of thinking several steps ahead, ensuring that the serene atmosphere of the Vatican remains undisturbed. You won't hear dramatic pronouncements or urgent shouts, just the measured tones of officers discussing logistics, their voices rarely rising above a calm murmur. Even the moments of quiet personal time that might occur in the afternoon contribute to this deep well of discipline. Perhaps a guardsman studies Italian, or reflects on a passage from Scripture, or simply enjoys a moment of quiet contemplation. This cultivation of inner peace, which we'll delve into more deeply later, is not separate from their duties. It underpins their unwavering dedication. It is in these quiet, deliberate moments that the true strength of their vigilance is forged, a mental fortitude that allows them to maintain focus and presence even in the most monotonous of tasks. There's no room for distraction, no space for the kind of restless energy that characterizes much of modern life. Here, in the quiet heart of the Vatican, the afternoon is a gentle, yet profound, exercise in sustained, discreet presence. So, as the sun dips lower, painting the Vatican walls in hues of apricot and rose, you understand that the Swiss Guard's afternoon is not a time of winding down, but rather a subtle recalibration. It is a period defined by quiet patrols, specialized training, meticulous maintenance, and diligent administration, all woven together by an unwavering commitment to discreet protection. The absence of drama, the very quietness of their work, is its most eloquent statement. They are the unseen shield, the constant, calm presence that ensures the tranquil flow of life within the smallest state in the world. And as the last golden rays fade, you feel the profound peace that comes from such dedicated, quiet vigilance, a peace that now, perhaps, invites you to drift gently into your own quiet retreat. Section 8. As the sun begins its slow, deliberate descent over the eternal city, painting the ancient stones of the Vatican a soft, burnished gold, you feel a subtle shift in the air, a collective sigh of the city preparing for rest. The frenetic energy of tourist groups, once a buzzing symphony of camera clicks and hushed awe, gradually dissipates like a morning mist. The last stragglers are gently, but firmly, ushered out of St. Peter's Square, their excited chatter replaced by the distant rumble of the city's evening traffic. For the Swiss Guard, this twilight hour isn't a sudden halt, but a graceful deceleration, a meticulously choreographed winding down of duties that have punctuated their day with unwavering rhythm. You're still in your vibrant uniform, the last rays of sunlight catching the gold of your buckles and the bold stripes of your breeches, but the internal clock is ticking towards something other than public display. You might be standing sentinel at the Arch of the Bells, or perhaps near the bronze doors, feeling the cool evening air begin to seep into the ancient stone. The last of the diplomatic visitors have left, their sleek cars purring softly as they exit the Vatican gates, their briefcases perhaps a little lighter, their expressions a touch more relaxed. Your posture remains impeccable, but beneath the starched ruff, there's a quiet anticipation of the familiar rituals that mark the day's end. It's not the dramatic, sword-clashing climax of a historical epic, but rather the gentle, almost imperceptible fade-out of a very long, very peaceful, and surprisingly undramatic documentary. It's like the moment your phone finally hits 5% battery, and you know it's time to plug in, but for a 500-year-old military unit. The closing of the Vatican gates, a daily ritual observed for centuries, is a prime example of their quiet efficiency. These aren't just any gates, they are massive, wrought-iron behemoths, some of which have stood guard for hundreds of years. You watch as a fellow guard, perhaps with the aid of a Vatican gendarme, engages the ancient mechanisms, the heavy groan of metal on metal, a sound that echoes through the quiet square. It's a sound that has signaled the end of the day for countless popes, pilgrims, and potentates. Historians still argue whether the precise sequence of locking certain gates was originally designed for maximum security, or simply evolved from practical necessity over centuries of closing up shop. Regardless, the methodical click and thud of each bolt sliding into place is a tangible marker of the transition from the bustling daytime Vatican to its serene, almost monastic, nighttime self. It feels less like a fortress being secured and more like a very large, very important library being locked up for the night, ensuring all the priceless manuscripts and the Pope, of course, are safe and sound. As the public area is empty, your final checks become more thorough, less about observation and more about ensuring absolute security. You might walk through a silent corridor, the echoes of your own footsteps the only sound, checking that doors are secured, lights are off where they should be, and that no unexpected shadows linger. This isn't the dramatic lights out of a military barracks in a war zone. It's the meticulous sweep of a museum curator ensuring every exhibit is perfectly preserved overnight. The halberd, which has stood proudly by your side all day, now feels less like a ceremonial prop and more like a silent companion on this final, quiet patrol. Finally, the moment comes for you to be relieved from your post. Another guard, fresh from their barracks, approaches with the same unhurried pace you've maintained all day. There's a crisp, quiet exchange of words, a brief report, a nod of understanding. No fanfare, no dramatic handover. Just the smooth, almost imperceptible transfer of responsibility that defines their entire existence. You turn, your back to the hallowed ground you've protected, and begin the short, familiar walk back to the barracks. The weight of the uniform, which you've worn with such effortless grace all day, now feels a little heavier, a gentle reminder of the hours spent standing vigil. It's like taking off those really uncomfortable but incredibly stylish shoes after a long day at a wedding, pure, unadulterated relief, but in a very dignified, Swiss Guard kind of way. Stepping through the unassuming entrance to the Caserma, the Swiss Guard barracks, is like entering a completely different world. The vibrant colors of your uniform, so striking against the pale stone of the Vatican, now seem to blend seamlessly with the quiet, orderly interior. The air inside is different too, less formal, more communal. You can hear the faint clinking of cutlery from the mess hall, the murmur of quiet conversations, and perhaps the distant, muffled sound of a television. It's a space designed for quiet reflection and the restoration of energy, not for boisterous revelry. You shed the formal uniform, piece by meticulous piece. The plumed helmet, the ruff, the elaborate jacket, each item is carefully hung or folded, ready for the next day's duties. It's a surprisingly intricate process, akin to disassembling a very fancy, historically significant Lego set, ensuring no piece is lost or damaged. This transition from public sentinel to private individual is a crucial part of their daily rhythm. The uniform of duty is shed, replaced by comfortable civilian clothes, perhaps a t-shirt and shorts or a track suit, depending on the season and personal preference. It's a moment of decompression, a quiet shedding of the day's solemnity. You might head straight for the mess hall, where a simple, hearty dinner awaits. The food is wholesome and unpretentious, designed to fuel dedicated bodies, not to impress Michelin critics. Conversations around the tables are low-key, often in a mix of Swiss German and Italian, discussing the day's mundane events, sharing a quiet laugh about a particularly enthusiastic tourist, or perhaps planning a weekend leave. There's a distinct lack of war stories being exchanged because, well, there aren't any. It's more like a very disciplined, very well-fed book club meeting, minus the books. After dinner, the evening hours in the barracks unfold with a quiet predictability. Some guardsmen might head to the small gym, working off any residual energy with a quiet intensity. Others might retreat to their rooms, small, Spartan spaces that offer a welcome sanctuary for personal reflection. You might read a book, write a letter home, or perhaps catch up on current events, though probably not the kind involving dramatic geopolitical shifts, as your day job already involves enough historical weight. There's no loud music, no raucous gatherings. The atmosphere is one of shared purpose, but also of individual quietude. It's a testament to their inherent discipline that even off-duty, the sense of calm perseverance remains. A fascinating, though perhaps slightly quirky, tidbit about their evening routine involves the specific type of lights used in certain older parts of the barracks. For centuries, oil lamps, then gas lamps, were the primary source of illumination after dark. Even with modern electricity, some older sections, particularly storage areas or less frequented corridors, are still illuminated by a specific, warm, low-wattage bulb that casts a gentle glow, reminiscent of older times. It's a subtle nod to the past, a quiet sensory echo of the centuries of guardsmen who walked these very halls by a similar dim light. It's the kind of thing you wouldn't notice unless you were living there, a little historical Easter egg embedded in their daily lives. The evening often culminates in a period of quiet reflection or prayer for many of the guardsmen. Their faith, as we've touched upon before, is not just a personal belief but an integral part of their service. Many attend evening prayers in the small chapel within the barracks, or simply spend time in personal meditation. It's a grounding ritual, a quiet moment to reconnect with the spiritual bedrock that underpins their unique calling. This isn't a forced obligation but a deeply ingrained habit, providing a peaceful conclusion to their demanding day. It's the ultimate unplugging from the world, trading the digital noise for the quiet hum of spiritual contemplation. As the night deepens, the barracks grow even quieter. The last conversations fade, the lights dim, and the only sounds are the gentle creaks of an old building settling for the night, and perhaps the distant chime of a bell from St. Peter's Basilica. You drift towards sleep, the day's duties slowly dissolving into a peaceful oblivion. The image of the halberd, which once felt like a symbol of ancient conflict, now merely represents a quiet, enduring promise. The colorful uniform, a vibrant statement of protection, is folded away, awaiting the dawn. You are not a warrior returning from battle, but a guardian who has ensured another day of peace, another night of quiet. And as you finally close your eyes, you realize that the most relaxing history of war is the history where war never happens, thanks to the quiet, unchanging daily duties of those who stand vigil. Section 9. As the last rays of twilight soften the Roman skyline, you trudge, with a gentle weariness that settles deep in your bones, away from your post. The vibrant uniform, a kaleidoscope of gold, red, and blue, feels less like an armor and more like a second skin after hours of standing sentinel. You navigate the familiar cobblestone paths, the air cooling, carrying the faint scent of ancient stone and evening jasmine. The public face of the Swiss Guard, the unmoving, vigilant statue, slowly melts away as you approach the Caserma della Guardia Svizzera Pontificia, the Swiss Guard barracks. This isn't some sprawling, modern military complex with concrete bunkers and echoing parade grounds. Oh no, that would be far too loud. Instead, you turn a corner, perhaps past the famed St. Anne's Gate, and find yourself facing a building that feels more like a venerable, thick-walled monastery than a military dormitory. It's an old structure, steeped in centuries of quiet occupation, its stones having absorbed countless whispered prayers and the soft shuffle of boots. You push open a heavy, unassuming door, and the subtle hum of the Vatican outside seems to dissipate, replaced by an immediate, almost palpable quiet. It's the kind of quiet that feels less like an absence of sound and more like a presence of calm, a gentle hush that invites you to lower your shoulders and perhaps even let out a small, contented sigh. This is your sanctuary, your home within the walls of the smallest sovereign state in the world. And it is, by design, a place of simple comforts and quiet camaraderie. You step inside, and the air is noticeably cooler, a welcome respite from the lingering daytime warmth. The corridors are clean, almost clinically so, but not sterile. There's a faint, comforting scent of polish and old wood, perhaps a hint of the evening meal wafting from the mess hall. Your footsteps, even in your sturdy service shoes, seem to soften, almost instinctively, as if the very walls encourage a quieter pace of life. Your living quarters, shared with a few fellow guardsmen, are not luxurious, nor are they meant to be. Think of it less as a five-star hotel, and more as a very, very tidy college dorm room for adults who prefer early mornings and impeccable ironing. Each room, while compact, is meticulously organized. You'll find sturdy, functional beds, often bunked to maximize space, with crisp, white linens pulled taut. A small desk, perhaps a modest wardrobe, and a few personal effects, a crucifix on the wall, a framed photo of family back in Switzerland, a well-worn book, provide the only splashes of individuality. There's no room for clutter here, no space for the chaos of modern life to seep in. Everything has its place, a reflection of the discipline that governs every aspect of a guardsman's existence, even off-duty. Honestly, if you've ever tried to keep a shared living space this neat, you know the true meaning of dedication. My own sock drawer, for instance, is a historical battleground of mismatched combatants. After shedding the iconic uniform, which, let's be honest, probably requires its own dedicated laundry service just to keep those pleats pristine, you might head to the communal areas. The mess hall, for instance, isn't a raucous dining hall filled with clanging trays and boisterous chatter. It's typically a place of quiet conversation, where meals are taken with a respectful decorum. You'll find a blend of Swiss and Italian cuisine, often simple but hearty fare, designed to fuel the long hours of duty. Imagine the gentle clink of cutlery, the low murmur of voices discussing the day's events, or perhaps a quiet debate about the merits of a particular type of cheese. There's no shouting, no loud music, just the steady rhythm of men unwinding together. Historians still argue whether the original design of the barracks, specifically its layout for communal living, was primarily influenced by monastic traditions, or if it was a purely functional adaptation for a standing guard unit in a confined space. What is clear, however, is that the current Caserma della Guardia Svizzera Pontificia, rebuilt and modernized in the early 20th century, maintains this ethos of quiet, shared living. It's located just inside the Vatican walls, a stone's throw from the Apostolic Palace, giving the guardsmen immediate access to their posts, but also ensuring their living space remains a secluded, protected enclave. This proximity is key. It means even their downtime is spent within the very heart of their charge, reinforcing that sense of continuous, unwavering presence. Beyond the mess, you might find a common room, perhaps with a television, though it's unlikely to be blaring the latest action movie. More likely, you'd see a few guardsmen engrossed in a quiet game of cards, reading a newspaper, or perhaps using their personal devices to connect with family back home. Yes, even the Swiss Guard has Wi-Fi, proving that some forces are truly unstoppable. But even here, the atmosphere remains subdued. It's a space for quiet camaraderie, for sharing a laugh over a quiet joke, or offering a word of encouragement to a younger recruit. There's a certain understated respect that permeates these interactions, a shared understanding of their unique calling. One quirky tidbit about their barracks life is the importance of a small, dedicated chapel within the caserma itself. While their spiritual life is deeply integrated into their duties, having a private, accessible space for personal prayer and reflection within their living quarters underscores the profound faith that underpins their service. It's not just a place to sleep and eat, it's a spiritual hub, a quiet corner where they can seek solace and strength. You might see a guardsman, after a particularly long shift, simply sitting there, in the quiet glow of a single lamp, finding a moment of inner peace before retiring for the night. It's a subtle reminder that their strength isn't just physical, but deeply spiritual. The quiet extends to their recreational activities too. You won't find a bustling gym with barbells clanging and motivational music pumping. While physical fitness is paramount, their training often involves more structured exercises during duty hours or individual pursuits like quiet runs or bodyweight routines. The barracks are not a place for loud, boisterous recreation. Instead, the emphasis is on rest, reflection, and quiet engagement. There's a profound understanding that their effectiveness hinges not just on their physical prowess, but on their mental and spiritual fortitude, cultivated in these moments of stillness. This cultivation of inner quietude is a crucial, though often unseen, aspect of their discipline. It's not just about following orders, it's about mastering oneself. The barracks, in their understated simplicity, foster this. There are no distractions, no external clamor to disrupt the inner peace they strive to maintain. It's a place where they can truly disconnect from the world outside, even the world of their public duty, and simply be. The thick walls, the measured pace, the hushed conversations, all contribute to an environment designed for restoration. It's almost like the building itself is whispering, "She rest now. The world can wait." As the evening deepens, the soft glow from windows might cast long shadows across the cobblestones outside. Inside, the sounds become even more muted. The gentle creak of a bed as someone settles in for the night, the soft rustle of blankets, the rhythmic breathing of a sleeping comrade. It's a collective sigh of quiet contentment, a shared sense of peace after a day of unwavering vigilance. The barracks are not just a building, they are a living, breathing testament to the idea that strength can be found in stillness, and that true protection often comes not from martial clamor, but from a calm, unchanging presence. Word count, 1398. Awaiting continue ### section 9. As the last rays of twilight soften the Roman skyline, you trudge, with a gentle weariness that settles deep in your bones, away from your post. The vibrant uniform, a kaleidoscope of gold, red, and blue, feels less like an armor and more like a second skin after hours of standing sentinel. You navigate the familiar cobblestone paths, the air cooling, carrying the faint scent of ancient stone and evening jasmine. The public face of the Swiss Guard, the unmoving, vigilant statue, slowly melts away as you approach the Caserma della Guardia Svizzera Pontificia, the Swiss Guard barracks. This isn't some sprawling, modern military complex with concrete bunkers and echoing parade grounds. Oh no, that would be far too loud. Instead, you turn a corner, perhaps past the famed St. Anne's Gate, and find yourself facing a building that feels more like a venerable, thick-walled monastery than a military dormitory. It's an old structure, steeped in centuries of quiet occupation, its stones having absorbed countless whispered prayers and the soft shuffle of boots. You push open a heavy, unassuming door, and the subtle hum of the Vatican outside seems to dissipate, replaced by an immediate, almost palpable quiet. It's the kind of quiet that feels less like an absence of sound and more like a presence of calm, a gentle hush that invites you to lower your shoulders and perhaps even let out a small, contented sigh. This is your sanctuary, your home within the walls of the smallest sovereign state in the world. And it is, by design, a place of simple comforts and quiet camaraderie. You step inside, and the air is noticeably cooler, a welcome respite from the lingering daytime warmth. The corridors are clean, almost clinically so, but not sterile. There's a faint, comforting scent of polish and old wood, perhaps a hint of the evening meal wafting from the mess hall. Your footsteps, even in your sturdy service shoes, seem to soften, almost instinctively, as if the very walls encourage a quieter pace of life. Your living quarters, shared with a few fellow guardsmen, are not luxurious, nor are they meant to be. Think of it less as a five-star hotel, and more as a very, very tidy college dorm room for adults who prefer early mornings and impeccable ironing. Each room, while compact, is meticulously organized. You'll find sturdy, functional beds, often bunked to maximize space, with crisp, white linens pulled taut. A small desk, perhaps a modest wardrobe, and a few personal effects. A crucifix on the wall, a framed photo of family back in Switzerland, a well-worn book, provide the only splashes of individuality. There's no room for clutter here, no space for the chaos of modern life to seep in. Everything has its place, a reflection of the discipline that governs every aspect of a guardsman's existence, even off-duty. Honestly, if you've ever tried to keep a shared living space this neat, you know the true meaning of dedication. My own sock drawer, for instance, is a historical battleground of mismatched combatants. After shedding the iconic uniform, which, let's be honest, probably requires its own dedicated laundry service just to keep those pleats pristine, you might head to the communal areas. The mess hall, for instance, isn't a raucous dining hall filled with clanging trays and boisterous chatter. It's typically a place of quiet conversation, where meals are taken with a respectful decorum. You'll find a blend of Swiss and Italian cuisine, often simple but hearty fare, designed to fuel the long hours of duty. Imagine the gentle clink of cutlery, the low murmur of voices discussing the day's events, or perhaps a quiet debate about the merits of a particular type of cheese. There's no shouting, no loud music, just the steady rhythm of men unwinding together. Historians still argue whether the original design of the barracks, specifically its layout for communal living, was primarily influenced by monastic traditions, or if it was a purely functional adaptation for a standing guard unit in a confined space. What is clear, however, is that the current Caserma della Guardia Svizzera Pontificia, rebuilt and modernized in the early 20th century, maintains this ethos of quiet, shared living. It's located just inside the Vatican walls, a stone's throw from the Apostolic Palace, giving the guardsmen immediate access to their posts, but also ensuring their living space remains a secluded, protected enclave. This proximity is key. It means even their downtime is spent within the very heart of their charge, reinforcing that sense of continuous, unwavering presence. Beyond the mess, you might find a common room, perhaps with a television, though it's unlikely to be blaring the latest action movie. More likely, you'd see a few guardsmen engrossed in a quiet game of cards, reading a newspaper, or perhaps using their personal devices to connect with family back home. Yes, even the Swiss Guard has Wi-Fi, proving that some forces are truly unstoppable. But even here, the atmosphere remains subdued. It's a space for quiet camaraderie, for sharing a laugh over a quiet joke, or offering a word of encouragement to a younger recruit. There's a certain understated respect that permeates these interactions, a shared understanding of their unique calling. One quirky tidbit about their barracks life is the importance of a small, dedicated chapel within the caserma itself. While their spiritual life is deeply integrated into their duties, having a private, accessible space for personal prayer and reflection within their living quarters underscores the profound faith that underpins their service. It's not just a place to sleep and eat, it's a spiritual hub, a quiet corner where they can seek solace and strength. You might see a guardsman, after a particularly long shift, simply sitting there, in the quiet glow of a single lamp, finding a moment of inner peace before retiring for the night. It's a subtle reminder that their strength isn't just physical, but deeply spiritual. The quiet extends to their recreational activities too. You won't find a bustling gym with barbells clanging and motivational music pumping. While physical fitness is paramount, their training often involves more structured exercises during duty hours or individual pursuits like quiet runs or bodyweight routines. The barracks are not a place for loud, boisterous recreation. Instead, the emphasis is on rest, reflection, and quiet engagement. There's a profound understanding that their effectiveness hinges not just on their physical prowess, but on their mental and spiritual fortitude, cultivated in these moments of stillness. This cultivation of inner quietude is a crucial, though often unseen, aspect of their discipline. It's not just about following orders, it's about mastering oneself. The barracks, in their understated simplicity, foster this. There are no distractions, no external clamor to disrupt the inner peace they strive to maintain. It's a place where they can truly disconnect from the world outside, even the world of their public duty, and simply be. The thick walls, the measured pace, the hushed conversations, all contribute to an environment designed for restoration. It's almost like the building itself is whispering, "Shoo, rest now. The world can wait." As the evening deepens, the soft glow from windows might cast long shadows across the cobblestones outside. Inside, the sounds become even more muted. The gentle creak of a bed as someone settles in for the night, the soft rustle of blankets, the rhythmic breathing of a sleeping comrade. It's a collective sigh of quiet contentment, a shared sense of peace after a day of unwavering vigilance. The barracks are not just a building, they are a living, breathing testament to the idea that strength can be found in stillness, and that true protection often comes not from martial clamor, but from a calm, unchanging presence. Section 10. You've seen their quiet rooms, the simple comforts of their barracks, a physical sanctuary from the bustling world outside. But there's an even deeper sanctuary, a quiet, unwavering strength that underpins every precise movement, every silent vigil, every steadfast presence you've observed. It's their profound spiritual life, a bedrock of faith that intertwines so completely with their daily duties, it's almost impossible to separate the two. It's not merely a personal belief they hold, it's the very lens through which they view their service, transforming it from a job into a sacred calling. Imagine, if you will, the gentle awakening within the barracks. Before the crisp uniform is donned, before the halberd is gripped, there's often a moment, or perhaps many moments, of quiet introspection. For many guardsmen, their day doesn't truly begin until they've acknowledged the spiritual dimension of their existence. You might picture the soft light of dawn filtering through a window, illuminating a young man in quiet prayer, perhaps a rosary slipping gently through his fingers. This isn't a mandatory drill. It's often a deeply personal, voluntary act, a quiet communion that sets the tone for the hours ahead. It's the spiritual equivalent of checking your equipment before a mission, ensuring your internal compass is perfectly aligned. The Vatican, as you know, is not just a city-state, it is the spiritual heart of the Catholic Church. To live and work within its ancient walls is to be constantly enveloped by an atmosphere saturated with history, art, and profound faith. Every stone whispers of centuries of devotion, every dome reaches skyward in prayer. For the Swiss Guard, this isn't just their workplace, it's their immediate spiritual environment. They are constantly exposed to the rhythms of the Church, the pealing of bells for the Angelus, the distant strains of Gregorian chant from St. Peter's Basilica, the solemn procession of cardinals and pilgrims. This constant immersion subtly, yet profoundly, reinforces the spiritual significance of their protective role. It's like living inside a giant, ancient, very holy, and exceptionally quiet mindfulness retreat. Within their barracks, tucked away from public view, lies their own dedicated chapel. It's a space of simple elegance, designed for reflection rather than grand ceremony. Here, away from the throngs of tourists and the official duties, guardsmen can find solace, attend Mass, or simply sit in quiet contemplation. Think of it as their spiritual ready room, always accessible, always offering a haven for the soul. The soft glow of a vigil lamp, the scent of old wood and beeswax, the quiet hum of whispered prayers. These sensory details paint a picture of a space where inner peace is cultivated with deliberate care. It's where they recharge their spiritual batteries, ensuring they have the quiet fortitude to stand motionless for hours, observing, protecting, without a flicker of impatience. They say patience is a virtue, and for a Swiss Guard, it's practically a job description. I imagine their internal monologue during a long shift is less, "Are we there yet?" and more, "That will be done, eventually." Central to their spiritual well-being is the Swiss Guard chaplain. This isn't just a figurehead. The chaplain is a vital member of their community, a spiritual guide, counselor, and friend. He celebrates Mass for them, offers spiritual direction, and is available for personal confession or simply a quiet chat about the challenges of life, duty, or navigating the occasional awkward tourist question. Mainstream historical fact: the presence of chaplains in military units has been a constant throughout history, providing spiritual succor and moral guidance, a tradition the Swiss Guard upholds with quiet dedication, understanding that a soldier's spirit is as vital as their physical training. This spiritual support system is crucial, especially for young men far from home, serving in a unique and demanding environment. The solemn oath of loyalty, taken on May 6th each year, is perhaps the most visible manifestation of their intertwined faith and duty. You recall the vivid ceremony, the raised hand, the ancient words spoken. This oath is not merely a bureaucratic formality or a pledge to an earthly leader. It is a sacred vow made before God, the College of Cardinals, and the entire community. When a guardsman swears to protect the Pope, even to the point of sacrificing his own life, he does so with the profound understanding that this is a spiritual commitment, a promise made with eternal implications. It elevates their service from mere employment to a holy vocation. It's a bit like signing up for an eternal direct deposit of good karma, but with a much stricter dress code. Their spiritual lineage also connects them deeply to a host of patron saints, figures whose lives offer inspiration for their unique service. Saint Martin of Tours, a Roman soldier who famously cut his cloak to share with a beggar, later became a bishop and is a revered patron of soldiers. His journey from warrior to spiritual leader embodies the ideal of service, compassion, and the transformation of earthly duty into divine purpose. Then there's Saint Sebastian, a 3rd-century Roman martyr, depicted often as pierced by arrows yet remaining steadfast in his faith, a powerful symbol of resilience and unwavering dedication in the face of adversity. And of course, Saint Michael the Archangel, the celestial warrior who casts down evil, perfectly representing their role as protectors against unseen threats and defenders of the innocent. These aren't just names in a book. They are spiritual mentors, silent guardians who inspire their earthly counterparts to embody courage, faith, and unwavering resolve. This profound spiritual discipline is what allows them to cultivate an extraordinary inner peace. Think of it as the ultimate spiritual core workout, long before anyone invented planking or mindful breathing apps. Standing for hours, perfectly still, observing, remaining alert yet calm, this requires an immense amount of self-control. Their faith provides the framework for this inner quietude. It's a constant reminder of the larger purpose behind their quiet vigil, allowing them to transcend the mundane aspects of standing guard and connect to a deeper spiritual significance. This cultivation of inner stillness is perhaps the most crucial weapon in their arsenal, ensuring they remain unruffled, focused, and perpetually ready, without the need for visible displays of force. And let's be honest, if you're going to spend hours standing perfectly still in a Renaissance-era outfit, having a profound spiritual connection to your purpose is probably a lot more helpful than just really strong leg muscles. Though, I'm sure they have those too. Historians still quietly debate whether the deep spiritual commitment observed in the Swiss Guard is primarily a result of their rigorous selection process, which implicitly favors individuals with existing strong faith, or if it's more profoundly shaped and intensified by the unique, immersive spiritual environment of the Vatican itself during their service. Is it that only the truly devout apply, or does the very air of the Holy See deepen an already existing faith into an unshakable conviction? Perhaps it's a beautiful synergy of both, a self-selecting group whose spiritual lives are then nurtured and amplified by their extraordinary surroundings. It's fascinating to consider that some former guardsmen, after completing their service, even choose to pursue further religious life, becoming priests or entering monastic orders. Quirky tidbit. While not a common occurrence, the fact that a small number of individuals feel a deeper spiritual calling emerge or solidify during their time as a Swiss Guard speaks volumes about the profound spiritual atmosphere and the contemplative nature of their duties. It's a testament to how deeply their time within the Vatican's spiritual heart can impact their life's direction, transforming a period of military service into a stepping stone towards an even more dedicated spiritual path. In essence, for the Swiss Guard, their faith is not a separate compartment of their lives, neatly tucked away from their duties. It is the very foundation upon which their service stands. It provides the meaning behind the monotonous, the strength for the demanding, and the quiet purpose for every moment of their unwavering vigilance. It's the silent force that allows them to be both protectors of the Pope and guardians of a centuries-old spiritual legacy, performing their duties with a serene dedication that truly sets them apart. Section 11. You've seen glimpses of their quiet discipline, the methodical precision that underpins their daily vigil. But now, let your mind drift to a truly unique spectacle, a performance unlike any other in the world of military tradition, the ceremonial duties of the Swiss Guard. This isn't your usual parade ground bluster, no quick-time marches or sharp, aggressive turns designed to intimidate. Oh no, this is something far more profound, a slow-motion ballet of duty, a living, breathing tableau that unfolds with a grace so deliberate, it almost seems to defy the very concept of time. We're talking about ceremony's slow grace, a phrase that perfectly captures the essence of their public displays, a dance of tradition unfolding with quiet dignity. Imagine, if you will, the opposite of a TikTok speed run. This is the ultimate anti-fast fashion, anti-instant gratification experience. Every movement, every step, every turn of the head is not just measured, it is contemplated. It's as if each guard has an invisible internal metronome set to a tempo so glacial, it would make a sloth look like a cheetah on caffeine. You watch them, and you find yourself involuntarily slowing your own breath, your own thoughts, trying to match their unhurried rhythm. It's less a drill and more a moving meditation, a living testament to patience in an impatient world. Honestly, if you're looking for a quick thrill, this isn't your average drive-through experience. You might be waiting a while for that uniform to fully turn the corner. Perhaps the most poignant and public example of this deliberate pace is the annual swearing-in ceremony, held each May 6th in the Vatican's San Damaso courtyard. This date is far from arbitrary. It commemorates the sacking of Rome in 1527, a brutal event where 147 Swiss guards famously died defending Pope Clement VII. It's a mainstream historical fact, a chilling reminder of the ultimate sacrifice, now transformed into a day of solemn commitment. On this day, new recruits, their faces a mixture of youthful earnestness and burgeoning pride, stand before the Pope or his representative, their plumed helmets catching the gentle Roman sunlight. You see them, standing so still, so resolute, their halberds held perfectly upright, almost as if they are extensions of their own unwavering spines. The ceremony itself is steeped in ritual, each gesture performed with an almost painstaking slowness. When a recruit steps forward to take the oath, he grasps the banner of the Swiss Guard with his left hand and raises his right hand, extending 3 fingers, thumb, index, and middle, symbolizing the Holy Trinity. As he recites the oath, pledging to loyally, honorably, and faithfully serve the pontiff, even to the point of sacrificing his life, each word is pronounced with a gravity that hangs in the air, amplified by the silent, unmoving ranks of his brothers in arms. You can almost feel the weight of centuries of tradition settling upon his young shoulders. It's a moment designed to imprint itself on the soul, not just on the memory. And then there are the movements. The movements. Imagine a changing of the guard, but instead of crisp, rapid exchanges, you witness a fluid, almost dreamlike transition. A guard approaches his post, his steps even, deliberate, his boots barely whispering against the ancient cobblestones. He doesn't rush to meet his counterpart. Instead, he glides. The exchange of salutes, the precise shift of weight as one guard takes over from another, the presentation of arms with their ornate halberds. It's all done at a pace that suggests infinite time, as if the very concept of urgency has been banished from the Vatican grounds. It's less about efficiency and more about the deliberate unfolding of a sacred duty. You might even find yourself checking your watch, not because you're bored, but because your internal clock is struggling to recalibrate to this magnificent, unhurried tempo. Their drill sergeants must have the patience of saints, or at least be very good at napping between commands. Consider the handling of their halberds. These aren't just props, they are heavy, formidable weapons steeped in history. Yet, when they are moved during a ceremony, there is no clatter, no jarring impact. The halberd is lifted, rotated, and lowered with such control, such gentle precision, that it seems to float. It's a testament not just to physical strength, but to an extraordinary level of muscle control and focus. It's like watching a master calligrapher draw each stroke, knowing that every millimeter matters. And if you pay close attention, you might even notice a quirky, almost imperceptible detail during their long periods of standing guard, the almost ritualistic micro-adjustment of their plumed helmets, a subtle tilt or shift that seems to serve no practical purpose other than to break the absolute stillness, a tiny, almost private acknowledgement of the passage of time, known only to those who stand so long. It's a blink-and-you-miss-it gesture, a secret handshake with eternity. This exquisite slowness isn't just for show. It speaks volumes about the discipline involved. To maintain such a deliberate pace, to hold a pose for extended periods without a flicker of impatience, requires an inner quietude that most of us can only dream of cultivating. It's a profound exercise in mental fortitude, a constant battle against the urge to fidget, to rush, to simply be done. It's a cultivation of present-moment awareness on a scale that would make a mindfulness guru weep with joy. The very act of performing these duties becomes a form of meditation, a continuous act of surrender to the moment, to the tradition, to the vow. Historians still argue whether the extreme slowness of certain ceremonial movements was originally intended for practical reasons, perhaps to allow for better observation in an age of less sophisticated surveillance, or to conserve energy in heavy uniforms during long watches, or if it evolved purely as a symbolic display of control, unwavering dedication, and the timeless nature of their protective mission. Whatever the original intent, its current effect is undeniable. It commands attention not through force, but through a quiet, almost hypnotic gravity. It's a visual anchor in a world adrift in speed. You might wonder, in our hyperspeed, instant-everything world, what's the point of such deliberate, unhurried movements? The point, dear listener, is precisely that. In a society that values speed above all else, the Swiss Guard offers a counter-narrative, a living, breathing argument for the power of slowness, of tradition, of unwavering presence. Their ceremonies are not just a display of military prowess, they are a profound statement about continuity, about respect for history, and about the quiet, enduring strength that comes from a deep sense of purpose. They remind us that not everything worth doing needs to be done quickly. Sometimes, the most powerful statements are made at a pace that allows the message to truly sink in, to resonate deep within your sleepy, receptive mind. It's a reminder that true strength isn't always about how fast you can move, but how steadily you can stand. And as you drift deeper, you can almost feel the quiet dignity of their movements, a soft lullaby of timeless tradition. Section 12. You know, when you close your eyes and picture the Swiss Guard, beyond the vibrant stripes of their uniform, there's almost certainly one other image that materializes with striking clarity: the long, formidable silhouette of the halberd. It's not just a prop, not merely a fancy stick. It is, in many ways, the very embodiment of their enduring presence, a silent sentinel standing guard over centuries of history. You might even find yourself drifting into a gentle reverie, imagining the cool, smooth feel of the polished wood against your palm, the subtle weight of the steel head balancing precariously at the top, just as the guardsmen themselves experience it every single day. This isn't some hastily cobbled-together weapon from a forgotten prop department. Oh no, the halberd is a bona fide ancient piece of military hardware, an ingenious design that truly epitomized the Swiss army knife of medieval weaponry, long before anyone even conceived of miniature pliers or tiny screwdrivers. Imagine, if you will, a long pole, typically ranging from 6 to 8 feet, topped with a menacing head. This head wasn't just a simple spike, it was a sophisticated combination of an axe blade on one side, a sharp, piercing spike on the other, and often a hook or a fluke on the back. It was designed for maximum versatility on the chaotic battlefields of old Europe. You could chop, you could thrust, you could even snag a fleeing opponent or dismount a knight from his horse. It was, to put it mildly, quite the contraption. For centuries, this wasn't just a pretty accessory, it was a brutal, effective instrument of war. Mainstream historical fact alert * the halberd, wielded by disciplined Swiss pikemen formations, proved devastatingly effective against the heavy cavalry and traditional infantry of the late medieval period. Victories like the Battle of Sempach in 1386, where the Swiss Confederacy famously routed the Habsburg forces, are often attributed in part to the innovative and devastating use of these pole arms, breaking through seemingly impenetrable lines of armored knights. It was a game-changer, literally, in the brutal game of medieval warfare. Think of it as the guided missile of its day, highly effective if a little less aerodynamic. But here's the beautiful, tranquil paradox. The halberd you see today in the Vatican isn't meant for impaling anyone. Its purpose has shifted, gently, gracefully, from the visceral clash of conflict to the quiet reverence of ceremony. It's no longer about conquest or defense in a physical sense. It's about continuity, about heritage, about a protective legacy that has transcended the need for actual bloodshed. It's like a vintage sports car that's now a museum piece. Still beautiful, still powerful in its design, but now appreciated for its history and artistry rather than its top speed on the highway. You wouldn't try to parallel park it in a modern city, just as a Swiss guard wouldn't try to use his halberd to stop a speeding car. Though let's be honest, the visual would be quite something. As you observe a guard standing at their post, the halberd held steady at their side or presented with deliberate slowness, you're witnessing a living tableau. The polished steel catches the soft light filtering through the Vatican's ancient arches, reflecting centuries of untold stories. The axe blade, once designed to cleave through armor, now gleams with a silent, almost peaceful dignity. The spike, which could pierce the thickest hides, now points skyward, a beacon of unwavering dedication rather than a threat. It's a magnificent transformation, isn't it? From tool of destruction to symbol of unwavering, quiet protection. It's almost as if the weapon itself has retired, put on a nice uniform, and decided to enjoy a more serene existence, much like a seasoned warrior who now tends a quiet garden. The guardsmen themselves are trained to handle these pieces with immense respect. They aren't just handed a pole with a pointy bit. They learn the precise, measured movements required for ceremonial duties. You'll see the deliberate way they shift its weight, the controlled arc as it moves, the soft thud as the butt of the pole gently meets the ground. There's a certain rhythm to it, a dance of tradition unfolding with quiet dignity that speaks volumes without a single word. It's a far cry from the frantic, desperate swings of battle, now replaced by the measured, almost meditative movements of a practiced ritual. You almost expect them to start doing a slow-motion Tai Chi routine with them, such is the tranquility of their movements. And while they look substantial, and indeed they are, they're not cumbersome in the hands of these highly trained individuals. Each halberd, while a replica of its historical forebears, is still a robust piece. Quirky or fringe tidbit alert *, while primarily ceremonial, these halberds are still crafted with a surprising degree of historical accuracy and robustness. They're not just hollow stage props, they have real weight and balance, and while their edges are typically blunted for safety and practical daily handling, they are still made of steel and wood, substantial enough that you wouldn't want one dropped on your foot. A common misconception is that they're merely decorative, but they retain a latent, almost symbolic, physical power, reminding everyone that beneath the colorful uniform lies a serious, disciplined force, even if their primary weapon against modern threats is now more likely a discreet earpiece and rigorous training in security protocols. Think about the sheer number of times these halberds are handled each day. From the early morning changing of the guard to the late-night patrols, they are constant companions. They lean against walls during quiet moments, they stand upright during official ceremonies, they are carried with unwavering posture during processions. Each interaction reinforces the bond between the guard and his ancient instrument of service. It's a silent conversation, a continuous affirmation of the oath he has taken. Open scholarly debate phrase * historians still argue whether the halberd's ultimate battlefield dominance stemmed more from its intrinsic design superiority or the legendary discipline and tactical innovation of the Swiss mercenaries who wielded it. Was it the weapon, or was it the warrior? In the context of the Swiss Guard today, the answer is clear: it's the warrior. The halberd itself is now a mirror, reflecting the unwavering discipline and quiet dedication of the man who holds it, no longer a tool of force, but a symbol of fortitude. So, as you drift deeper into the quietude, consider the halberd. It's more than just a piece of metal and wood. It's a tangible link to the past, a symbol of a promise kept for over 5 centuries. It's a testament to how even the most formidable instruments of war can, with time and purpose, transform into icons of peace and unwavering, silent honor. It stands, eternally vigilant, not ready for battle, but ready to signify a legacy of protection that continues, gently, peacefully, into the night. Section 13. As you continue your gentle drift through the tranquil history of the Swiss Guard, past the polished gleam of their ceremonial halberds and the quiet dignity of their posts, another subtle, yet profoundly defining, layer of their unique existence begins to shimmer into focus: the gentle hum of their languages. It's not the thunderous roar of battle cries, nor the sharp command of a drill sergeant, but rather the quiet, almost imperceptible, intertwining of tongues that truly defines their daily lives within the Vatican walls. Imagine, if you will, a linguistic tapestry woven from threads of Swiss German and Italian, each strand contributing to a fabric of quiet diplomacy and integrated community. You see, the Swiss Guard, true to their name, are drawn from the cantons of Switzerland, a country renowned not just for its precision watches and delicious chocolate, but also for its remarkable linguistic diversity. While Switzerland boasts 4 national languages, German, French, Italian, and Romansh, the vast majority of Swiss Guards hail from the German-speaking cantons. This means that when a young man arrives at the Vatican fresh from his homeland, he brings with him not just his dedication and his passport, but also his particular dialect of Swiss German. Now, Swiss German isn't just one language, it's a wonderfully complex, often guttural, and always distinct collection of Alemannic dialects. Think of it less as a single monolithic language and more like a family of closely related, yet audibly distinct cousins. A guard from Bern will sound different from a guard from Zurich, and both will differ from a guard from the Valais. It's a bit like trying to understand the subtle nuances between different regional accents in, say, Texas versus Boston, but with even more pronounced differences in vocabulary and grammar. For someone unfamiliar with it, it can sound quite formidable, a series of clipped, robust sounds that seem to tumble out with a certain no-nonsense efficiency. But within the barracks, among fellow guardsmen, these dialects are the very air they breathe, the language of quiet camaraderie, of shared jokes, and of the unspoken understanding that comes from common roots. This linguistic fingerprint, unique to each region, becomes a surprisingly intimate part of their daily life. You might hear the low murmur of a conversation in Bernese German during a quiet moment in the mess hall, or the sharper, more staccato tones of Zurich German as instructions are passed between shifts. It's the language of their homesickness, their comfort, and their deepest thoughts. It's where they truly are themselves, away from the more formal demands of their public duties. And for a new recruit, navigating this internal linguistic landscape can be its own quiet challenge. Imagine trying to understand the rapid-fire chatter of a dozen different regional accents all at once, while also trying to remember which fork to use at dinner. It's enough to make you want to retreat to a quiet corner with a phrasebook, isn't it? Yet, this very diversity fosters a unique kind of integration. They learn to listen, to adapt, to understand the subtle cues that transcend specific dialects, building a shared linguistic intuition. But then, you step outside the barracks, into the very heart of the Vatican city-state, and you are immediately immersed in Italian. Italian is the language of the Holy See, the language of daily communication with Vatican officials, pilgrims, and the wider Roman populace. It's the language of public address, of formal ceremonies, and of simply ordering a coffee at a nearby Roman bar. For many guardsmen, particularly those from the German-speaking cantons, learning Italian is a crucial part of their training and adaptation. While some may have had Italian as a subject in school, the immersive experience of living and working in Rome quickly hones their skills. You'll find them politely addressing visitors in Italian, offering directions, or engaging in brief, courteous exchanges with the clergy. This linguistic duality creates a fascinating dynamic. Imagine a guard who has just spent an hour conversing in his native Swiss German with a fellow recruit, perhaps discussing a football match or a letter from home. Then, moments later, he steps out onto his post, straightens his already immaculate uniform, and responds to a tourist's query in fluent, polite Italian. It's a seamless transition, a mental switch that becomes second nature, almost as fluid as the changing of the guard itself. This ability to navigate between two distinct linguistic worlds isn't just a practical skill, it's a form of quiet diplomacy in itself. It allows them to connect with the local environment while maintaining their unique Swiss identity within their internal community. This blend of languages also fosters a unique cultural environment, one that is truly integrated yet respects individual origins. It's not about one language dominating the other, but about each serving a specific, vital purpose. Swiss German provides the bedrock of their communal identity, a private language spoken amongst themselves that reinforces their shared heritage and helps forge the bonds of brotherhood. It's the language of their internal world, their sanctuary of sound. Italian, on the other hand, is their window to the outside, their tool for engagement with the vast, international tapestry of the Vatican and the city of Rome. It's the language of their public duty, their outward face. You might wonder if there are ever any linguistic mishaps. Of course, even in the most disciplined environments, human nature and the delightful complexities of language will always find a way. Perhaps a new recruit, flustered by a particularly enthusiastic group of tourists, might accidentally respond to a question in a rapid burst of Swiss German before quickly correcting himself with a polite "scusi." Or maybe, during a particularly intense game of cards in the barracks, a spontaneous exclamation in Italian slips out, eliciting good-natured teasing from his German-speaking comrades. These small, humorous moments are not signs of failure, but rather charming indicators of the constant linguistic negotiation happening within their quiet community. It's a gentle reminder that even the most stoic of guardians are, at heart, human. One mainstream historical fact that underscores this linguistic reality is that Italian became the official language of the Vatican City-State in 1929, with the signing of the Lateran Treaty. Before that, Latin held a much more dominant position in many official capacities, though Italian was certainly widely spoken. This shift cemented Italian's crucial role in the daily operations of the Holy See, and by extension, in the linguistic environment the Swiss Guard navigates. So while their roots are firmly in Swiss German, their daily operational reality is deeply intertwined with Italian. And for a quirky, perhaps fringe, tidbit, you might occasionally hear a smattering of French spoken among the guards. While less common, especially given the predominant German-speaking recruitment, Switzerland is a quadrilingual country, and a small number of recruits may hail from the French-speaking cantons. These individuals, already multilingual, seamlessly integrate, often acting as informal linguistic bridges within the barracks, adding yet another subtle layer to the Guard's unique linguistic tapestry. It's a quiet testament to their adaptability, isn't it? Imagine being able to switch between 3 languages just to ask someone to pass the salt. It's practically a superpower. This constant linguistic dance, the quiet back and forth between their native dialects and the adopted language of their duties, requires a remarkable level of mental agility and a profound sense of cultural respect. It's not just about memorizing vocabulary, it's about understanding nuance, tone, and the unwritten rules of communication in 2 very different cultural contexts. And this leads us to a fascinating point of scholarly contemplation. Historians still argue whether the linguistic diversity within the Guard has historically been a source of internal cohesion, fostering a sense of shared challenge and unique identity, or a subtle, continuous challenge that required constant adaptation and effort to maintain unity. Perhaps, like many things in life, it is both. It's a challenge that, through their quiet dedication, they have consistently overcome, turning potential division into a unique strength. Their ability to communicate effectively, quietly, and respectfully in both Swiss German and Italian is a cornerstone of their quiet diplomacy. It allows them to interact with the Pope, cardinals, and Vatican officials with the appropriate deference and clarity in Italian, while maintaining the strong, internal bonds of brotherhood and mutual understanding within their own ranks in Swiss German. It means that directions given to a new recruit can be understood perfectly in his native dialect, fostering confidence, while a polite query from a visiting dignitary can be answered with reassuring clarity in Italian. This seamless linguistic navigation contributes profoundly to the atmosphere of calm and order that defines their presence. It ensures that communication, whether internal or external, remains smooth, efficient, and above all, quiet. It's a testament to their dedication to a silent, unwavering watch, where even the language spoken contributes to the overall sense of peaceful vigilance. Section 14. You might think the discipline of the Swiss Guard is all about perfectly pressed uniforms and snappy salutes. And sure, it is on the surface. You see the crisp lines, the precise movements, the unwavering gaze, and you naturally assume that's the sum total of their formidable training. But beneath that impeccably ironed facade, within the very heart of their unwavering presence, lies something far deeper, far more subtle, and arguably far more challenging, a profound cultivation of inner quietude. It's not just about standing still, it's about being still, deep down where the thoughts chatter and the fidgets begin. Imagine, for a moment, the sheer mental fortitude required to stand motionless for hours, day after day, year after year. It's not the kind of dynamic, adrenaline-fueled discipline you associate with a battlefield charge. Instead, it's a discipline of enduring calm, a battle fought entirely within the confines of one's own mind. You might think it sounds easy, like a nice, relaxing nap, but try it. Try standing perfectly still, without shifting your weight, without letting your eyes wander, without your mind drifting to what you'll have for dinner or that embarrassing thing you said last week. It's harder than it looks, isn't it? It's like trying to win a staring contest with a particularly stubborn gargoyle, except the gargoyle is your own restless brain. This isn't just about good posture. It's about a mental and emotional stillness that allows them to be perpetually alert without appearing tense. It's the Zen master approach to security, if you will. The external world around them might be a swirling eddy of tourists, snapping photos, asking questions in a dozen different languages, or simply gawking. You, the guard, are a fixed point in that maelstrom, an island of absolute calm. This requires a level of personal discipline that goes far beyond mere physical stamina. It demands mastery over the internal landscape, a conscious decision to quiet the mind's incessant chatter, to filter out distractions, and to remain utterly present in the moment. The training for this inner peace isn't explicitly labeled mindfulness for sentinels or advanced boredom management, but it's woven into every fiber of their rigorous preparation. From the moment a young man steps into the barracks, he begins a journey of self-control. Every drill, every precise movement, every hour spent on post is an exercise in mental fortitude. You learn to control your breath, to regulate your heartbeat, to maintain an expression of serene vigilance even when a small child is attempting to pull on your striped trousers. Don't worry, they're quite used to it. The children, that is, not the trousers giving way. Think of it as a form of active meditation. While they aren't sitting cross-legged chanting OM, their duty becomes their meditation. The slow, rhythmic pacing of a patrol, the measured cadence of their steps echoing softly on ancient stone, the quiet observation of their surroundings. All these repetitive, deliberate actions foster a state of heightened awareness and inner calm. You become acutely aware of the subtle shifts in air currents, the faint scent of old incense from a nearby chapel, the distant murmur of voices blending into an almost hypnotic hum. Your senses are sharpened, not dulled by boredom, but refined by focused attention. This cultivation of internal quietude is crucial for their effectiveness. An agitated mind is a distracted mind, and a distracted mind is a security liability. A guard who is internally flustered, even if he looks stoic on the outside, might miss a crucial detail, react impulsively, or betray a weakness. Their unwavering dedication, their ability to be an unseen shield, as we'll discuss later, hinges on this profound inner stillness. It allows them to process information rapidly, to assess potential threats without panic, and to respond with measured precision when necessary. Their inner monologue is probably just elevator music, but really good elevator music, the kind that makes you wonder if they're actually just powered by a single, very efficient AA battery. The challenges to this inner peace are manifold. Boredom, as mentioned, is a formidable adversary. The human mind craves stimulation, novelty, change. When faced with long periods of static duty, it will seek to entertain itself, often leading to mental wandering. The Swiss Guard learned to combat this not by fighting their thoughts, but by observing them, letting them pass, and gently returning their focus to their immediate duty. It's a technique not dissimilar to what modern mindfulness practitioners advocate. They might internally review their training, mentally map out the intricacies of their post, or simply focus on the feeling of their feet on the ground, grounding themselves in the present moment. Physical discomfort also tests this inner resolve. The weight of the uniform, the heat of the Roman summer, the chill of winter mornings, the sheer strain of standing perfectly still for extended periods, these are all external pressures that can chip away at one's composure. Yet, you rarely see a Swiss Guard fidget, shift awkwardly, or betray any sign of discomfort. This isn't because they don't feel it. It's because they've trained themselves to acknowledge the sensation without letting it dictate their behavior or disturb their inner calm. It's a testament to their stoicism, a quality admired in soldiers throughout history, from the Spartans facing impossible odds to the Roman legions standing firm against barbarian hordes. This mainstream historical fact of military stoicism finds a unique, quiet expression within the Vatican walls. Their profound spiritual life, which we touched upon earlier, also serves as a bedrock for this inner discipline. For many guardsmen, their faith provides a deeper purpose to their service, transforming mundane duty into a sacred trust. This spiritual anchoring can provide immense reserves of patience, humility, and inner strength, helping them to weather the mental and physical demands of their role. It's a quiet source of fortitude, a constant reminder of the higher calling that underpins their daily vigilance. A quirky tidbit that illustrates this inner discipline. Guardsmen are taught to maintain an expression of polite neutrality at all times, even when tourists try to provoke a reaction. You might see a tourist make a silly face, tell a joke, or even try to get them to break character with a sudden movement. The guard, however, remains impassive, his gaze unwavering. One former guard recounted a time when a tourist tried to hand him a banana, insisting he eat it on post. The guard simply looked at the banana, then back at the tourist, with a look that conveyed, without a single word, "Sir, this is the Vatican, not a monkey enclosure." This ability to remain unruffled, to project quiet authority without aggression, comes directly from their cultivation of inner peace. It's not about being emotionless, but about controlling the expression of emotion. This emphasis on internal stillness, on a kind of mindful vigilance, is a fascinating aspect of the Swiss Guard's training. Historians still argue whether this precise emphasis on internal stillness was a formalized training component from the Guard's earliest days, or if it evolved organically over centuries of quiet vigilance, a natural adaptation to the unique demands of their duty. Was it always explicitly taught, or was it something that simply became an unspoken, essential quality passed down through generations of quiet sentinels? Regardless of its precise origin, it is undeniably a core tenet today. The payoff for this rigorous self-mastery is evident in their unwavering dedication. You see it in the calm, steady eye contact they make when you pass them, in the smooth, unhurried precision of their movements during a ceremony, and in the quiet authority they exude even when simply standing at a post. They are not merely performing a duty, they are embodying a state of being. Their discipline isn't just about external conformity, it's about an internal alignment that allows them to be completely present, completely focused, and completely reliable in their quiet, continuous vigil. It's a profound personal commitment, a cultivation of inner quietude that underpins every single aspect of their unwavering dedication to protecting the Pope and the Vatican. Word count, 1398. Awaiting continue. You might think the discipline of the Swiss Guard is all about perfectly pressed uniforms and snappy salutes. And sure, it is on the surface. You see the crisp lines, the precise movements, the unwavering